Anna Smith. Anna Smith.
Here.
Shade Fashakun.
Here.
Nikosi Nelson.
Here.
Trish Bodie.
Here.
Paul Gautier.
I am here.
Gloria Gonzalez de Lucia.
Here.
Laura Marquez.
Here.
It is 6:17 p.m. and with a quorum of the board present, I call this meeting of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees to order. I want to make an announcement tonight. Just before we begin tonight's meeting, I want to ensure that the community is aware that beginning on Thursday, January 8th, 2026, board meetings will be held at the Linda Lippy Instructional Materials Center in Cedar Park. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Cedar Park Middle School administration and staff for hosting board meetings this past year. I know it has not been easy. We recognize it's been a great deal of flexibility and work, and we're truly grateful for your support and partnership. And next, board members, we're gonna turn to our citizens' comments. Oh, you got one? Okay, portion of our agenda. Hold on real quick. The board appreciates the community's engagement in tonight's meeting and the valuable input provided through citizens' comments. In accordance with Leander ISD Board Policy BED Local, the presiding officer might make adjustments to the public comment procedures in order to accommodate large numbers of individuals wishing to address the board. This evening, we have 60 individuals signed up to speak, in addition to a lengthy list of topics for the board to consider. Normally, the board allows each speaker in public comment up to 90 seconds for his or her presentation. Due to the high number of individuals who will be speaking this evening, I'm adjusting that time to 60 seconds per speaker so that we may hear from everyone and have time remaining to conduct the business of the district. Before I invite the first speaker to the podium, we'll watch a short introductory video.
Hello, my name is Vikas Singh. I'm a 5th grader at Grandview Hills Elementary School. The district and the Board of Trustees are the local government body responsible for serving the educational needs of all school children like me and my friends here in Leander Independent School District. Their mission is to cultivate each individual student while creating a safe and supportive environment. The board is now taking up the citizen comments agenda item. This is dedicated time during the meeting to hear from the whole community, and the entire LISD family is listening. The district believes the Leander family thrives when we ensure a welcoming, safe, and caring environment. To our speakers, before you speak, we hope you have read guidelines specified in Board Operating Procedures and BED Local. The board wants to hear from everyone. Please be mindful of your conduct and example you are choosing to set when presenting complex information. Remember that school children of all ages may participate in board meetings either by watching them online, or you might even see some of us in the audience. Still remember that there are ways you could communicate with the board. You could send them an email or just tell them that you would like to chat sometime. When the board president calls your number, remember, watch the timer and focus on your remarks to the time allotted. We know it could be hard, but please conclude your comments when you hear the chime.
Speakers number 1 through 10, if you can please form a line in the middle of the aisle so you're ready to approach the microphone when your number is called. All right, speaker number 1, whenever you are ready.
Why do you want to shut down my school? I will be nervous if you make me switch schools, and I will miss my friends. Why do you want to shut down my school? Please tell me why. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker 1. Speaker number 2.
Please don't shut down my school because I will miss my teacher and my friends, and I hope my teachers and I hope my friends come, and I will be scared. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 2. Speaker number 3 did not check in, just making sure. Speaker number 4 did not check in, just making sure, because they're both students. Speaker 5. Speaker number 6.
Humming. It's the brother, but they're different numbers.
Speaker number 6 has to go. I'm sorry. Speaker number 7, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Connor, and I have been at Steiner Ranch for 4 years. I really love my school, so please don't close it. If you do, my friends and wonderful teachers will be separated. Plus, we would really miss our schools, and teachers will have to find a new job and won't know where to go. I don't even know which school I would go to. I don't know where my friends will go. It will make me really sad if you close our school. Please save Steiner Ranch Elementary. So if you do, you are not only affecting us, but you are also affecting the community too. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Speaker number 8.
Hi, my name is Alani, and I'm a 5th grader at Steiner Ranch Elementary. I think we should keep SRE open because it will be beneficial for our community. The reasons to this are I made all my friends here at SRE because of Steiner's strong, helpful, and encouraging environments. We should also keep it open for Steiner's great teachers. They are committed to help each of us learn and grow, even though some of us struggle in subjects or just have problems of our own. But school isn't just full of learning. We can still have fun and experiment throughout the things we do. At SRE, we learn the graduate profile. We learn about critical thinking skills. And if I were on the board, I would use my critical thinking skills to choose the best beneficial choice, and that is to keep Steiner open. I don't know if it will or will not, but I do know one thing, that Steiner Ranch will always have a special place in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 8. Speaker number 9, but before you begin, speaker number 9, can I please get speakers 11 through 16 to please come line up? Speaker number 9, whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Ewan, and I'm a third grader at Steiner Ranch Elementary. I feel sad about the school closing because I have good friends, and I'm scared we will get split up. And because of this, I think the students should get more of a say because they are the most affected. I feel sad for the teachers because this is their job, and I can tell they really love it. The teachers make me smile because they dress up and have fun, and because our teachers give us hugs when we need one. I also really love going to school and back on my bike, and teachers keep me safe when I do that. If I move schools, I won't be able to ride my bike there and back. Please don't close our school. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker 9. Speaker number 10.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Martin, and I'm a 5th grader at Steiner Ranch Elementary. I have gone to Steiner since kindergarten, and something I have looked forward to for all that time is our senior walk. A senior walk is such a monumental moment of a student's life, when they get to come back to the place they grew up and see teachers they haven't seen in years. If you close Steiner or any other school, generations of kids will not get to experience this. They'll be forced to do it at another unfamiliar school, or just not do it at all. This is just one of many things that you have yet to give a solution to. Before you close any schools, you need to give solutions to all of these problems and think about the emotional impact your decision will have on hundreds of children. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 10. Speaker number 11.
Hello, my name is Cece, and I'm a 4th grader at Steiner Ranch Elementary. I'm really nervous to be here, but I love my school, and I need you to hear me. Schools aren't just buildings. They're places where we feel safe, where teachers know our names, and where we learn how to be kind, brave, and confident. When a school closes, it doesn't just disappear. A whole community disappears with it. I'm scared about what will happen to our teachers and staff. Many of them live in our neighborhood. Some have been at Steiner Ranch for decades. They've been here longer than I've been alive. They're part of our families. If our school closes, or if you take away the people who make it special, our school won't feel like home anymore. And kids need a place that feels like home when they're learning. I know you have hard decisions to make, but tonight you have the power to protect us. Please don't rush a decision that can't be undone. Please give us one more year. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Speaker 11. Speaker number 12? No, okay. Speaker number 13? Nope, okay. Speaker number 14? It's okay, Speaker 14. That's fine. She's nervous. It's okay.
I'm going to read it for her.
That's fine.
Okay. This is from Ellie. She's a second grader at Steiner Ranch Elementary. She says, all I want for Christmas is for my school not to close. Steiner Ranch isn't just a school to me. It's my second home. It's where I feel safe. It's where I learn and where the teachers know my name and care about me. Our principal and assistant principal work really hard to make our school feel special. During Christmas week, they even dress up as elves to make us smile. That's how much they care about us. Our school is also really good at helping kids learn. We work hard, and our teachers help every student to do their best. I am proud to go to Steiner Ranch Elementary. Please don't take away a place that means so much to us. This school is more than a building. It's our home, it's our community, and our happy place. Thank you for listening, and I hope you please keep our school open.
Thank you, Speaker 13. Now, Speaker number 14. I don't think I see a 14. Okay, we'll go with Speaker number 15, did not check in. So we'll go with Speaker 16. And before you begin, Speaker 16, can I please get 17 through 22 to line up? We got them? Awesome, thank y'all.
Closing a school is one of the most drastic action a district can take, yet we are being asked to accept this decision to save $700,000 with no plan for the impact of a new superintendent, the impact of open enrollment, which Steiner Ranch is in a most favorable location for, staffing transition, or long-term use of the building. There's been no clear explanation of how much this $700,000 will actually be saved after new costs are added. This feels rushed, reactive, and short-sighted. A permanent decision is being made to solve a temporary budget issue without fully exploring alternatives. Either that, or are you getting information outside of open meetings? I urge the board to pause this closure and pursue alternatives that do not sacrifice a school for minimal savings. Just know if you move forward with this, we will bring the influence of 13,000 plus voters in 78732 against any new bonds this board attempts. Find a better way. $700,000 or $800,000 is nominal in a $481 million budget,
Thank
less
you,
than
Speaker number
15/1000th of a percent.
Speaker number 17, please.
Hello, I'm a teacher at Steiner Ranch Elementary. The district admin has created mitigation strategies that they believe will help schools with low enrollment grow. Give us a chance to try these strategies before closing our school. Mr. Trimble even said at last week's meeting that Steiner Ranch is in a great location for open enrollment purposes. Later in that meeting, it was suggested that consolidation is the only way to guarantee our students all specials classes, but this is not true. We are willing to be creative with staffing and work with other schools in the neighborhood to maintain our specials. We don't need to consolidate schools to ensure a great school experience for students. We have always provided the best learning experience for our students, and we will continue to do so with the small school model. Give us a chance to try the strategies before making the irreversible decision to close our school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker 17. Speaker number 18.
According to the last board meeting, closing SRE would result in a projected savings of about $700,000, which is representatively less than 0.1%. So pennies to the dollars of the district's total spending. That is a very small financial gain when weighed against the very real and lasting impact on students, families, and the broader community. All those little guys' faces times, how many? Steiner Ranch is more than a line item on a budget. It is a school where the students feel known, supported, and connected. Once a school is closed, the loss is permanent, and rebuilding trust and enrollment becomes far more difficult. Rather than making an irreversible decision for minimal savings, I encourage us to slow down and work together on thoughtful innovation solutions, like open enrollment. This is an opportunity to collaborate, problem solve, and invest in our students' future. I respectfully ask that you keep us open and remain open while we pursue these options together. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker 18. Speaker number 19.
Hi, I'm asking you to vote no on closing any schools tonight, especially Steiner Ranch Elementary. This whole process has been flawed. There's no real teamwork with our communities. Public comments were rushed, limited to 1 minute. The superintendent promised that the 2023 bond money would help find other solutions instead of closing schools, but that promise was broken. Open record requests were delayed on purpose, and the one person that asked for one was required to pay a huge amount of money for the documents. That sends a message that you want to scare people away. The superintendent disappeared for days when big decisions were happening. One board member made important decisions they had no authority to make. We still have no clear answers about the real cost of closing and repurposing schools. The rules for which schools might close kept changing from 400 to 500. They weren't applied fairly to every school. If a decision like this has to be made, it should be done openly with community input and in a fair way for everyone. Our community has made it very clear we don't want closures. Through petitions.
Thank you, Speaker number 19.
Thank you.
Speaker number 20, and before you speak number 20, can I please get speakers number 23 to 28 to please line up? Whenever you're ready, 20.
I recently learned more about the very expensive pre-K center in the north of LISD. Construction began in April 2025, and they plan to have 600 pre-K students in the fall of 2026. This expensive new construction north in Leander is in progress because you must complete the new facility per the 2023 bond package. To pass that same 2023 bond package, upper-level Leander ISD staff promised the south and central areas that this bond would prevent closing our elementary schools. This promise is well documented. Now the new facility from that bond appears to be one possible reason for these elementary school closures. At the very least, it is troubling to have such extreme spending in the north, while our basic services are at risk in the central and south parts of the district. You may find new and widespread opposition to future bond packages if you close even one of our schools. My neighbors and I put your 2023 signs in our yard based on your promises that our elementary schools would remain open because of this bond package.
Thank you, Speaker 20. Speaker number 21.
Enrollment drives everything. Just 6 days ago, this board approved of enrollment thresholds along with mitigation strategies meant to give campuses a chance to improve enrollment. If you vote to close Steiner Ranch Elementary tonight, you are deciding not to give those strategies a chance to work. Steiner Ranch Elementary is just below the Phase 2 threshold, and it has a stable population, or should I say, a growing population. Just announced today, a 320-unit multi-family development at the front of Steiner Ranch, less than 1 mile from Steiner Ranch Elementary. Closing Steiner Ranch Elementary will not preserve enrollment. Families will evaluate their options, many will leave the district, and the projected $700,000 benefit will shrink. Now is the time to objectively evaluate all options based on safety, financial impact, population projections, and community impact, and consider the growth that is coming to Steiner Ranch.
Thank you, Speaker 21. Speaker number 22.
Since May, when we were shocked to learn that our school was targeted for closure, it has felt like one stomach punch after another. With the target on our backs, our families and staff have been forced into survival mode, advocating not just for our school, but for fairness in how this decision was made. The landscape has changed. The tuition-based pre-K plan is no longer viable. Mitigation strategies like open enrollment are now in place, yet the district has been unwilling to reconsider. We are pleading with you to listen. Have a discussion tonight about what is truly the right thing to do. Closing SRE next year only saves about $700,000, less than 1% of your budget. That won't meaningfully fix the problem, but it will be permanently damaging a strong school community. Please give open enrollment time to work and allow us to grow enrollment through targeted outreach. Use next year to fully engage all 3 school communities, carefully review the data, conduct traffic studies, and develop a thoughtful, comprehensive plan for which school, if any, should close, and how the many details that deeply affect our families and staff will be handled. That is the only fair way forward. Thank you for listening.
Speaker 22. Speaker number 23.
Good evening. I've been coming here since May, and I feel like we've gotten to know each other through these 60-second conversations. You know, tonight I didn't prepare a speech, but I did prepare a 10-page report for you all to be able to review that's sitting right in front of you that details the fiscal risk of actually closing the school versus the fiscal savings that you may receive from keeping it closed. This is significant. We're talking about millions of dollars a year in lost tax revenue and students. Closing a school at the front of Steiner Ranch and having a split between Laura Bush and River Ridge will split us and have us go from a 5-minute walk to 20 to 30-minute commute each way. You're basically creating a billboard to have students open and enroll in new charter schools with $10,000. You have a decision tonight. If you feel you have all the answers from admin, that all the people that have talked to you, the thousands of us, are not of concern, then vote yes. But you have a fiduciary duty to vote no tonight because the cost savings do not add up, and you will be putting this district in jeopardy by closing SRE. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker 23. Speaker number 24 did not check in, so we're going to go with speaker number 25. And before you begin, 25, can I please get speakers number 29 to 33 to please line up whenever you're ready.
Steiner Ranch Elementary is a very uniquely positioned to service those of Lake Travis, Round Rock, and Austin ISD. It is a ridiculous and ignorant move to close SRE prior to testing out the new out-of-district open enrollment policy. Austin ISD students live as closely as only 6.5 miles away from SRE in Jester Boulevard, Long Canyon at the bottom of 2222 Hill. Round Rock ISD on 620 in the Canyon Creek neighborhood is only 5 miles from SRE. Let those parents have a chance to transfer to our exemplary schools that is a reasonable drive away. I mean, they're already going to private schools to get out of Austin ISD, so why wouldn't you let them just drive down the street to our school? SRE is a gold mine. It's an oil field waiting to be unearthed. Come on, guys, you can do better. It's marketing 101. Try it.
Speaker number 26.
Good evening, board members. The district's own data shows that closing Steiner Ranch Elementary does not meaningfully solve the budget problem. Your COO's slides last week showed that consolidating SRE to Bush and River Ridge only generates about $700,000 in additional savings, less than 6% of a projected $12.8 million deficit. And that figure does not even include the ongoing costs to maintain the closed campus or the significant costs required to renovate it for any future use, which further reduces or even eliminates any savings at all. What this option does do is permanently eliminate a high-performing A-rated neighborhood school that anchors a diverse community. Your own presentation shows closures are just one of the many budget levers that we have, and not a decisive one. The remaining $9+ million must be solved regardless. So I ask you, why choose the most disruptive option for one of the smallest financial returns? Please pause, exhaust alternatives first.
Thank you, Speaker number 26. Speaker number 27.
I'm here tonight as a parent of 3 SRE students and a long-term substitute at SRE. I know this school, and I know this decision is wrong. You are moving forward with a massive choice without a clear plan for what happens next. No discussion of outcomes, no roadmap for students, staff, or families. A teacher would never walk into a classroom without a lesson plan. And no one would remodel a house without blueprints, yet that is exactly what you are doing, tearing down a support wall with no plan for the end game. SRE is a support wall in this district. You are proposing to close a thriving, top-performing school for a small financial return that will not meaningfully reduce district debt, while still paying to maintain or remodel an empty building. If you close SRE, you will be making a huge mistake. People matter, communities matter, and ignoring excellence really matters. Please realize you will be destroying the very things that school districts everywhere are striving for: excellence in education and heartfelt nurturing and guidance for all students.
Thank you, Speaker 27. Speaker number 28.
Good evening. I'm a parent of 2 boys at Steiner Ranch Elementary, and I'm asking not to close SRE. SRE is an A-rated and recently renovated school with taxpayer money. You're projecting a $700,000 in savings which is minuscule compared to the overall debt. But you've not shown the net cost of moving nearly 400 students into Laura Bush and River Ridge, much less the new burden on the children going into the new learning environments. Fabian has a repurpose plan, but for SRE, there's no clear funded plan or timeline. A vacant campus becomes a safety and security liability. And closures also hit learning. The University of Chicago Consortium found that in the announcement year, students fell behind about 1.5 months in reading and 2 months in math. Reading recovered after 1 year, but the math impact persisted for 4 years. Keeping SRE open, please keep SRE open and pursue community-involved alternatives that either grow enrollment instead of dismantling the standard of the district.
Thank you, Speaker 28. Speaker number 29 did not sign in, so we're going to go with Speaker 30. And 30, before you begin, can I please get speakers 34 to 39 to please sign up? Whenever you're ready, 30.
Absolutely. Good evening, and thank you for having us. I'm going to brag for a minute about the profession of teaching. That word's really important right now, the profession of teaching. I'm the son of 2 teachers. I'm honored to be married to a teacher at Steiner Ranch Elementary, and I myself have served as a professor of education at Concordia University, Texas for the last 17 years, training future teachers. What an incredible resource teachers are, and I hope you all are aware they're the most valuable resource you have. Not your technology, not your campuses, not your facilities, not your fancy new light bulbs. It's all about the teachers. And I'm not going to begin to understand why we would ever consider closing an A-rated school, but here's my fear for you all. If you close an A-rated school, you might lose A-rated teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, number 30. Speaker number 31.
I'm here today to ask to pause, not because change is hard, but because this decision has not been thought through. There's an ideal on the table, but the real plan that doesn't work. Closing a school without a student-focused plan raises serious concerns. We've seen a proposal to spend millions to renovate or re-renovate a campus just to turn around and sell it. That's not strategic planning. That's expensive musical chairs, and how is that saving us money? Even more concerning, students would move from a renovated school into one that hasn't been updated with no funding or plan to improve it. And you want to offer open enrollment into a jam-packed school? That plan sounds terrible. And not keeping students at the center of every decision. Right now, there's no clear evidence showing how closing a school improves academic outcomes or reduces short or long-term costs. Without that, this feels reactive, not strategic. Y'all are trying to dig yourself out of a financial hole and are grasping at straws. And the sad thing is, it affects the kids and community. Y'all can do better.
Thank you, Speaker number 31. Speaker number 32.
Good to see y'all again. I want to talk about this strictly as a business decision. The district has said closing SRE would save about $700,000. We've all heard that number, right? Leander ISD operates on roughly a $481 million budget. That's about 1/17 of 1%. In any business, that's a very small upside. Now look at the risk. Using conservative numbers, if around 100 students leave the district entirely, that savings disappears. Steiner Ranch has thousands of households. It does not take a wave of families leaving. It takes a relatively small group losing confidence and deciding they are done. That risk is even higher when this decision is being pushed forward during a leadership transition after a superintendent of 6 years resigned in the middle of this process. When the person who shaped the plan is no longer here to own it, that should be a signal to pause, not to accelerate. No well-run organization would take a high-risk action for a marginal gain under these conditions, especially when the downside could easily outweigh the benefit. This is not emotional.
Thank you,
This is
Speaker
not
number
political.
32.
It is simply a business.
Speaker number 33.
Good evening, trustees. In my comments, I will reference the PASA demographic report presented to the board on October 23rd, 2025. The big picture that this report painted for us was that families within LISD are voting with their feet and seeking non-LISD education options for their children. Slide 11 of the presentation show that kindergarten enrollment trending down, while births within LISD boundaries were trending up. As the presentation said, quote, kindergarten enrollment has steadily declined despite more births 5 years prior, emphasizing the impact of alternative education opportunities that attract kindergarten students out of LISD. So I hope this discussion challenges LISD leadership to understand the pain points that are driving this growing and highly motivated cohort of parents to seek alternative education opportunities. And I also hope this evening will be the beginning of an ongoing conversation about how to again make LISD a destination for the families within its boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 33. Speaker number 34. 34? Nope, okay. Speaker number 35. And before you begin, 35, can I please get speakers 40 to 45 to please line up? Whenever you're ready, 35.
For 3 years, we've stood before you asking for a clear process for campuses experiencing low enrollment. Last week, with the establishment of enrollment thresholds, that process was finally created. Now, however, our school may be excluded from the very process we have been asking for. We're requesting the opportunity to participate in the solutions discussed in the Long Range Planning Committee and offered by this community: innovative programming, open enrollment, and other strategies to grow enrollment. None of these options have been discussed in an open board meeting to determine whether or not they could work for our campus. Our school is zoned for more than 400 students, and yet many are allowed to transfer out. Pre-K was removed, and transfers have been denied, and our enrollment has been deflated. What if we were allowed to pilot programs that could bring those students back and even attract families from nearby districts? We're asking for the chance to pursue success before consolidation, and if those efforts fail, then we can enter into a process as a partner rather than being victims of it. We stand ready to partner with you, as we have consistently shown we are engaged, committed, and willing to work with the district.
Speaker 35. Speaker number 36 and 36 did not show up. 37, no, I'm going to the list. 37, no. 38, whenever you're ready.
I understand the fiscal pressure you're under, but closing schools isn't the solution. Closures accelerate enrollment decline. They disrupt learning, increase absenteeism through longer commutes, and push families out of the district. You have the financial risk report that Adam provided that has detailed losing just 94 students, erases the entire projected savings to close Steiner Ranch Elementary. Shutting down a school sends the message that the district is no longer trying to engage families. Meanwhile, private schools are actively transporting students to and from Central Austin, and homeschooling's increasing. These neighborhoods do have children who could grow enrollment if given the opportunity. Research shows that STEM programs, dual language immersion, early impact centers, etc., increase enrollment. Other districts have proven this, and Leander ISD's own dual language campuses already demonstrate stronger demand and stability. I'm asking you to vote no before we dismantle communities. Thank you.
Speaker number 39.
Hi, good evening. I appreciate your time tonight. My name is Alex Miles. I am a parent of what I hope to be as a student at Steiner Ranch Elementary. My thoughts on Steiner Ranch and its place in the LISD board: it has been a part of that success for so long that not only did I get to experience it, but I hope that my son does too. Something that's been discussed quite in depth is the financial impact of the decision to close the school, but I also want to further address the impact that it has on the communities therein. An impact on the teachers having to deal with larger classes, less resources. Not only are we impacting a team that has shown and proven success for over 20 years, that will only lead to less opportunities for success for our students. And if they cannot find that success or opportunity for success in our schools, they will find it elsewhere. I think it is only a bad idea to allow this to happen, so I ask you to vote no.
Thank you, Speaker 39. Speaker number 40.
You guys have heard our arguments over and over again. We're newly renovated. The cost savings will not be as high once maintaining and building and re-renovating are considered. Open enrollment can save us. We're a thriving community. And yet, the board is being asked to abandon this school without a roadmap. There's no concrete plan for Steiner Ranch. We have been given no information on where our students will go or what specifically happens to our building. Long-range planning requires complete information. Yet the district is rushing a decision while failing to apply its own standards consistently across this district. Consolidation may still be needed in the future, but pushing this specific choice now without considering all South area alternatives is an irreversible mistake. We are asking for 1 year. Give us the opportunity to let open enrollment work and generate the revenue this district needs. Do not trade a renovated, high-performing asset for an empty liability. Let's choose a plan driven by logic, not by a deadline. And I dedicate this speech to Speaker 3 and Speaker 6, who didn't make it on time, but still showed up.
Speaker number 41 did not check in. Speaker number 42. Speaker 41 did not sign in, so we're going to go with speaker number 42. Whenever you're ready, 42.
Okay, good evening. 4001 North Quinlan Park Road. For you, this address represents dollar signs. For us, it's our home away from home, where everyone feels loved and inspired. You see it as a financial gain, but I see it as a loss of great teachers that work so well with one another, the loss of community that doesn't get built overnight, nor without lots of heart and dedication. You see your decision as a success, I see it as a massive failure, a failure to recognize the greatness within those walls. You can't begin to understand the special culture we have at our school because you've never taken the time to experience it for yourself. You're gonna make a decision about our future without ever having stepped foot into our classrooms to understand the why behind our A rating. Sadly, you've never been a part of our PLCs, our vertically aligned cadres, to witness how we go about creating instructional practices that lead to student success. You shouldn't be eliminating what we're doing. You should be.
Speaker number 43, please.
Hi, I'm a Laura Bush parent and PTA president here tonight in support of Steiner Ranch and all neighborhood schools. There remain some unanswered questions for you to consider as you make decisions tonight. What is the plan for the Steiner Ranch building? How will that benefit students? And what is the cost to staff and renovate that building? Dr. Gearing previously told me that a repurposed building would need to be self-funding, as in paid pre-K, which seems to be off the table now. Why are the proposed levers, which include open enrollment, not being given a chance before closing schools? Are the staff reductions involving librarians and art teachers meant to be so painful that it makes consolidations more attractive to the community? Why not wait for a decision on the hold harmless issue, which would have a far greater impact on the budget than consolidating schools? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker number 43. Can I, Speaker number 44, and before you begin 44, can I get speakers 46 to 50 to please line up? Whenever you're ready, 44.
Closing Steiner Ranch Elementary is not simply about moving students to another building. It would require dividing an entire community. Without actually showing how students would be reassigned by neighborhood or address, it's impossible to know what class sizes, grade distributions, or staffing needs would truly look like. Until families are divided on paper, the academic and logistical impacts remain unknown. The projections shown assume balanced class counts and efficient bus routes, but those are only guesses. In reality, the district must assign by houses, not grade level, making it impossible to guarantee a clean split as shown in our slides. There's no clear plan for our building either. By the district's own presentation, the campus would sit empty for at least 2 years, despite being newly renovated, well-utilized, and in excellent condition. Meanwhile, the projected savings are already small, leaving very little margin once unaccounted for costs are considered. Last week, the board voted for mitigation strategies. Steiner Ranch deserves the opportunity to implement them, including open enrollment, to work collaboratively to grow our campus.
Thank you, Speaker 44. Speaker number 45.
There have been a lot of great points made tonight and for the months leading up to this moment. So tonight, when it comes to the vote, all I ask is for each of you to quietly search your heart and ask, am I voting this way because I truly believe it's the right decision? Consolidation sounds efficient, but it's short-sighted both financially and logistically. Bigger schools don't magically educate better, they just get louder, more crowded, and less personal. Ask yourself tonight if the plan to close SRE is really backed with clear, concrete plans that will drastically improve not just the district's finances, but also the communities that it affects. If you're honest with yourself, you'll know that it's not. If there's even a whisper of doubt in you, I urge you to pause and vote in a way that you'd be proud to tell the staff and children face to face. Thank you.
Thank you, 45. Speaker number 46.
I'm a Cypress parent speaking in support of my Steiner and Fabian neighbors. Last week, we learned that closing 2 schools will save the district only $1.5 million. The district discussed all the work that will need to go into implementing school consolidations for next year, figuring out what to do with the buildings with substantial community input, potentially followed by lengthy city permitting process, student transition efforts, including increased counseling, faculty transition efforts, and more. What will the culmination of these efforts cost both in time and money? The district is currently attempting to ramp up marketing efforts, roll out a new open enrollment program, improve its in-district transfer process, advance district-wide change management efforts, including those associated with reduced staffing, lead the ongoing long-range planning process, find a new superintendent, and possibly even prepare for Vader and bond elections. Where and how are you going to invest adequate resources into all of these things at once? Each of these efforts needs a serious time commitment if they're going to be effective, and it feels like implementation resources are already stretched thin.
Thank you, 46. Speaker number 47.
Good evening. Please consider this community impact article about the 320 multifamily unit development that's being built next to Randall's. Zoned for Steiner Ranch right off 620. It totally changes the math on the enrollment numbers that you've been considering. Again, the demographers were wrong, so let's please keep the school open for now and try to reassess. Thanks.
Thank you, 47. Speaker number 48. And before you begin, 48, can I please get speakers 51 to 55 to please line up? Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Courtney, and I'm a 5th grade teacher, a parent of 2 students, and a 16-year veteran teacher who moved across the country for LISD. I chose Steiner Ranch Elementary because of its culture. It's magical. Where students thrive and staff collaborate, it doesn't happen by accident. It was built through strong leadership and a dedicated community and an amazing PTA. SRE is more than a building. It's a vital lifeline for our most vulnerable families who depend on being walking distance to get to success. As educators, we teach our students to solve complex problems one step at a time. Why then would we rush to implement both new thresholds and campus closures in a single year? I urge you, be strategic, not reactive. Let's take this one step at a time. Protect our staff, our culture, and the impact of enrollment changes before you close doors.
Thank you, Speaker 48. Speaker number 49. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Kim Taggy, and I've been a Steiner Ranch homeowner, educator, and parent for 25 years. I've taught at both Steiner Ranch and Laura Welch Bush Elementary, and my daughters attended SRE from the time they were 3, receiving exceptional instruction for students with autism. I'm asking the board to pause the decision to close SRE. The community has not been provided with the data or rationale explaining why this A-rated campus was selected for closure when it does not appear to be a logical choice. Likewise, we have not been given a clear explanation of why alternative solutions were not explored. SRE serves a significant percentage of economically disadvantaged bilingual and special education students among neighboring schools, groups our district is committed to closing the gap for, and yet we continue to show strong, excellent academic growth. Please pause this decision until all data and rationale are shared transparently and you work with the communities to find
49.
solutions.
Speaker number 50.
Good evening. We need to address the central logical flaw in this proposal. The idea that closing SRE saves money is deeply misleading. The administration's data identifies only $700,000 in incremental savings. I know we've been saying that all night, but it's true. This amount will never be realized because abandoning a newly renovated facility does not stop the bills. An empty building, a zombie campus, still requires maintenance, utilities, and security to prevent deterioration. Furthermore, you are proposing to spend bond dollars to renovate this building again for a future tenant that doesn't yet exist. It is a failure of fiduciary duty to ask taxpayers to pay to fix older schools while simultaneously paying to maintain an empty, renovated one. The responsible path is to use the asset we've already paid for. Steiner's location is our best recruiting tool for open enrollment. Give us 1 year to prove we can bring in the students and the revenue. Keep
Thank you,
SRE
Speaker
open.
Number 50. Speaker number 51. And before you begin 51, can I please get speakers 56 to 60 to please line up?
Hi, I'm Miss Riddle. Good evening, board members. I know you're here volunteering your time, investing in our kids because you love this district as much as I do. I don't have anything miraculous to say this evening. I don't have spreadsheets or financial models or even a grand scheme of my own to fix the mess we're in. I'm simply here to ask that you not close Steiner Ranch Elementary. It feels like a heavy night. I know you've got big decisions to make, and when the vote happens, you'll simply say yay or nay. Such a tiny word that has such a big impact on my life, the life of my colleagues, the life of our students, their parents, and the life of Steiner Ranch. Think about that big, beautiful building on the top of the hill. My family moved here in 2009, and we moved here because of Steiner Ranch Elementary and the community that it serves. I'm here tonight to ask you to keep the doors of the ranch open. I keep thinking about my 2018-2019 fourth graders who will be graduating next year. I know I can't read their names, but you guys know who you are, and I still love you. I want you to walk next year.
Speaker number 52, please.
Hi, I'm a Cypress parent here in support of Steiner Ranch and Fabian. I almost had my faith restored this summer talking to you guys individually about how you all kind of agreed that these plans were very poorly thought out and that there was no way that we could move forward. But the fact that we're still talking about them 6 months later is kind of removing that faith from me again. Steiner Ranch is obviously in a great place to take advantage of the new open enrollment plan that you guys had. And then Fabian, y'all's plan is to close that school and then put students further north when you guys keep talking about how the north is where all of the overcrowding is. Yes, West Side is north of it and almost 3 miles away. It's so poorly thought out. So let's let the mitigation strategies actually work and allow us to grow our populations, or even consider strategic rezoning. I've heard it thrown around, and I know you guys said you didn't want to because it made people mad, but you effectively cut arts education for about half the elementary school students last week. So I think you're okay with making people upset. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker 52. Speaker number 53.
Good evening, board members. Our concerns extend beyond more than mere emotions. We are grounded in logical reasoning. We are advocating for SRE not simply out of nostalgia, but because we believe there are sensible reasons for this district to reconsider this decision. We must see the bigger picture. Closing our school is akin to playing a game of whack-a-mole, where we address one issue only to have another pop up. This approach does not cultivate the long-term solutions that our children truly deserve. There is yet to be a solid plan presented on what the space will be used for after its closure. And by shutting down the school, we are not only not finding a lasting solution, instead we are merely addressing a fire that will return in another form. Closing SRE will not meaningfully cut costs. It will still require the district to allocate funds in other areas, as the challenges won't simply disappear overnight. Everyone here recognizes the budget challenges that we face, and none of us pretend that those challenges do not exist, nor can they be ignored. However, what we seek is transparency and a comprehensive plan to navigate those financial hurdles. Also, shout out to our board members who took the time to come to our multicultural celebration. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Speaker number 53. Speaker number 54.
There's a decision-making framework that helps us analyze risk by thinking of decisions as hats, haircuts, and tattoos. Hats are everyday decisions, they're low risk. Haircuts are bold decisions. If you make a bad choice, AKA you get a bad haircut, it's uncomfortable but fixable. Few decisions are tattoos. Tattoos are irreversible, incredibly high risk.
Closing Steiner is a tattoo. It's devastatingly permanent, and when the doors are shut, families leave, property value funds decline, hidden costs emerge, and our children suffer, we are left with an embarrassingly permanent tattoo of our failure. So instead of jumping ahead to a tattoo, let's first start with a haircut. Do not close Steiner. Try open enrollment, explore revenue strategies, and if it was a bad haircut after all, at least we've given the time required to make a successful transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker 54. Speaker number 55.
Good evening. I urge you to vote no on closing Steiner Ranch Elementary. Closing a high-performing campus without a reuse plan is an unacceptable risk for everyone involved. For the neighborhood, it creates an empty dead zone that threatens our property values. For the district, it's a financial gamble. You cannot calculate savings without knowing what you repurpose it to. Jeremy Trimble outlined strategies for 2 different thresholds at the last meeting. Mitigation strategies have not been applied to Steiner Elementary. We cannot skip this step even though we are at the lower threshold. You have to give it a fair chance and not ignore a massive revenue opportunity, open enrollment. Steiner Ranch is a sought-after location and school. Please give open enrollment the time to work. Our community is ready to help recruit those families. Don't skip this solution and move straight to a permanent closure. The lack of transparency and full plan is already driving families towards private education. If you want to stop...
Thank you, Speaker 55. Speaker number 56.
Hi, guys. I have a $10,000 credit card bill I need to pay. So I have my daughter's very cute piggy bank with some change, and I could break this A+, beautiful, sweet, perfect piggy bank for this change to help my $10,000 credit card bill. But breaking this I don't know if it's really gonna be enough. I haven't seen enough. I haven't tried enough other options. I just don't want to see us break these teachers or break those 400 students or break our community for something that we don't even know. Is this really going to help? And until we can see all options have been exhausted, we will support you guys and be like, you guys tried everything. Thank you so much for caring. And we will back you. But right now, it just doesn't feel like enough's been done. So please don't break us.
Thank you, Speaker 56. Speaker number 57.
Good evening. My name is Lorena Curtis Wellings, and I have had the privilege of serving the students of Steiner Ranch Elementary for the past 21 years. During that time, I've taught 1st grade and 4th grade, earned my master's degree, and now proudly serve as the school's librarian. I have grown alongside this community, and I know firsthand what this school means to everyone. Steiner Ranch Elementary is more than a building. It is a nurturing environment where students are known by name everywhere they go. Closing this school will dismantle relationships that have taken decades to build in what seems like only moments to lose. Our students thrive because of our consistent and dedicated staff who are all here, and a strong parent community that cannot simply be transferred elsewhere, splitting our school family up.
Thank you, 57. Speaker number 58.
I am here to express my strong opposition to the proposed closure of our school, Steiner Ranch Elementary. This decision should not be taken lightly, especially given the current uncertainty within our districts following Dr. Gearing's departure. Now is not the time to make irreversible choices that impact our students, families, and community without clear leadership and a full articulated plan. Steiner Ranch is a high-performing school and a cornerstone of our community. Our students benefit from a strong academic foundation and a successful pipeline to Vandergrift High School, a recent Texas Cup recipient. This is a model of success that should be protected and strengthened, not dismantled. The financial justification for these closures, which cites an estimated savings of $700,000, does not adequately address the district's larger budget deficit. More importantly, it fails to account for real cost to families, students, and the broader community. We must ask ourselves whether this is relatively small savings worth long-term disruption of our loss of trust.
Thank you.
Please
Number
consider
58.
open enrollment.
Speaker number 59.
Good evening, trustees. I know you're facing impossible choices, and I don't envy the weight of them. But I need to say this clearly. Schools are sacred spaces. Like churches, they anchor our communities, and once they're closed, they're gone forever. Consolidation may be something to consider someday, but today is not that day. Voting to close Steiner Ranch Elementary will be an irreversible mistake. Tonight, we're asking for 1 year. 1 year to see if open enrollment brings students back. 1 year to try all those other ideas that everyone's been presenting. 1 year to make sure we don't rush into a decision we can't undo. Steiner Ranch isn't the smallest school, but it is the safest. It's walkable for apartment families. It needs no remodeling. Closing it saves nothing and creates new costs, new traffic risks, and new uncertainty. Community trust depends on clarity. You have the power to pause. You have the power to wait. Please use it. Thank you.
Thank you, 59. Speaker number 60 did not sign in, so we will now move. We are done citizen comments for tonight. All right, board members, now we will go to 4A, consider approval of elementary campus consolidated options for the 2026-2027 school year. Board members, over the past several months, the board has engaged in extensive and thoughtful discussions regarding long-range planning with a focus on maintaining financial stability while preserving the quality of our students' learning experiences. Oh boy, I forgot that, didn't I? I'm going to start that then right now. Guys, actually, we're going to take it back. I forgot to do consent agenda. I'm sorry. Board members, can you please go to consent agenda, and I need a motion for consent.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. A motion from Trish, a second from Sade. All in favor? 7 ayes, motion passes. Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. And I'll get back to where I was going. I'm going to start over. Sorry, guys. We're all it's a big meeting. Over the past several months, the board has engaged in extensive and thoughtful discussions regarding long-range planning with a focus on maintaining financial stability while preserving the quality of our students' learning experiences. We are grateful for the community's engagement through this process. Public comments at board meetings, emails, and ongoing conversation with community members have played an important part in shaping our discussions and guiding the information we request from this information. So community, thank you for giving us space. This has been a very lengthy process for us. And we're all volunteers on this board, and I know a lot of us have missed, some of our own students' performances and stuff, so thank you, community, for giving us space. The purpose of tonight's meeting is not to continue deliberation or discussion, but rather to make a decision informed by our prior discussions and the information before us. Board members, I'd like to remind you of our board norms that we, as a team of 6, approved and went over this weekend, just so that we can respect each other during this conversation and also remember to share the floor. I will now ask Chief Operations Officer Jeremy Trimble and Acting Superintendent Chris Clark to give an overview of the proposed scenarios for the 26-27 school year and beyond. Following those scenarios overview, each board member will be given an opportunity to offer comments before we consider taking action. So board members, let's let administration get through their presentation first before we get to the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Clark. Yes, so what I'm going to do is kind of overview the scenarios that are on the table tonight for consideration. The first of those being the potential consolidation of Fabian Elementary with Westside Elementary, along with a transition plan for a 26-27 school year transition and implementation. Along with that scenario, we have a different scenario, and that is the consolidation of Steiner Ranch Elementary with Laura Bush Elementary and River Ridge Elementary, along with a transition plan in conjunction with a 26-27 school year implementation.
So I just wanted to update, or not update, but just bring a few things to the forefront for the board before they make some important decisions tonight and to inform their discussion. We had a lengthy and robust discussion at our last board meeting regarding these options after Jeremy did his presentation. I think he didn't start that presentation till after midnight, so I know we were all tired when that occurred, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things. First of all, there were 2 slides that laid out a timeline of potential next steps if the decision is made to close either or both of these schools. In relation to Steiner Ranch in particular, I wanted to make sure every board member noticed that the staffing timeline would be much later than we had anticipated and planned for this year, due to the timing of that we're having this discussion and making a potential decision. So what that means is if Steiner Ranch is closed, that then has to, those families in those areas have to be rezoned, which is a process, and if you have questions about that, Jeremy can talk us through that. But the earliest we can engage those families properly and get back to the board with a proposal for what that new zoning might be would be March 12th, which then leads to staffing happening after that. So that would be something that is important for you to consider. It is doable, but it does slow down the staffing timeline internally. So I want you guys to be aware and know that that is an issue for us to consider. I don't want to belabor this, but it's something that we talked about also last week. A couple of you asked was about the use of the building. And so, as you know, the legislation changes did alter the plans that we had for Steiner. Would it have been potentially closed? So the length of time that building could remain vacant while we work through those plans could be 1.5 to 2 years, if I'm correct. So those are just a couple of things to make sure that you're aware of as we inform this discussion tonight. And I'll turn it back over to
Is it okay if we start asking questions? Oh, I'm sorry, did I?
No, I'm finished.
You were finished?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I hit the mic and I had it held. Are you sure?
Yeah,
okay. I think these are 2 separate motions that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
I appreciate administration going back and back with us on the data, right? I appreciate us looking at where stabilization is. I think we know where stabilization is going to happen. I have a lot of different notes here, so bear with me. I think we have a plan to work towards increasing enrollment, but I also acknowledge that open enrollment isn't going to be like the silver bullet that's going to cure everything, but I think it's an opportunity that, in some of our campuses. One of the things that I've kept thinking about is I feel like it's clear that, at least for me, it's clear that we need to look at school consolidations. And in the Steiner Ranch area, however, I'm concerned about how we determined which school to close. I'm concerned about that process. What I'm even more concerned about is closing an elementary school. It's emotional, it hurts. But I think about, we have 2 under-enrolled middle schools that we haven't talked about in this scenario. And I think thinking about under-enrolled middle schools, that's way deeper than, when we talk about the impacts that has to a community, I think those cuts are more. So I think that those middle school enrollment and where we're consolidating, I think that has to be a part of the discussion. I don't think it can be done in isolation. I feel like the plan has to be how are we consolidating, where are we consolidating, and what impact does that have on the stability of our middle school campuses? Because I don't want to have this discussion next year about, okay, what are we going to do about our middle schools? Yeah, we're going to give them time for open enrollment, I know I've had a lot of back and forth with you about open enrollment, because at one point I was like, hey, Jeremy, it's gonna be cool, we're gonna do open enrollment. I've looked at some of our friends across the state who have done open enrollment, and it brings in some, but not everyone's gonna come that first year. It's like this snowball, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of years. And so I'm gonna throw this out there for the board to consider, and I may need Sean's help on some of this, I don't know. I have a slightly different motion or option that I'd like to read, and it may be too long, and so Sean, maybe you come up here. I move that the board, in alignment with the long-range planning resolution that we adopted in September, direct administration to return with the comprehensive district-wide secondary alignment plan. And so really thinking about what, with our long-range plan, how are we creating stability for our secondary system? I'm really thinking about, we have 2 under-enrolled middle schools in the South. We have Canyon Ridge, we have 4 Points. Yes, we're gonna do open enrollment, but if we look at our reports, those are gonna continue. Part of that motion, I'm sorry, Sean, I'm still talking, and I have messy notes here, and so you might just ask for my messy notes. This framework should include analysis of expanded grade span models that integrate elementary and middle schools to support continued enrollment, as well as consolidation scenarios of 1 to 2 schools in the 2027-28 school year in the southern portion of the district that are showing sustained enrollment decline. So what I'm asking for is I just want to see a plan. If we're going to look at closures in the South, how are these closures, are they the right ones? And are we setting our middle schools up to create a system that allows our middle schools to be attractive? There's a lot of different ideas around that, right? Maybe it's K-3, and maybe it's K-8 academies, there's different scenarios of what that would look like. I want to have a plan. I feel like, we're looking at these consolidation options, and tonight we said, okay, Steiner, because that's the one we talked about first. But I don't think that makes it right. I think we need to make sure is long-term, is that what's best for the district when we think about open enrollment, when we think about how that split, what that does to boundaries in that community. I also want to think about what it does to future enrollment in Canyon Ridge.
Can we get a copy of the printout or something so we see it? Can
do you want me to
see what we're talking about?
And I know this is like the first attempt version that I've been writing and rewriting, and it's messy.
Usually you would draft it and then send it to us.
Yes. Okay. Let me give this to Cindy real quick, and for you.
All right. Go.
I just had I just wanted a quick question. So you mentioned that for Steiner Ranch, staffing timeline's different. What is it for Fabian, and why is it different?
And Jeremy, you want to answer that, or?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So let me try the best I can. So there are structural differences between the two, and it's tied to the complexities, because if you look at from a Fabian and West Side scenario to the Steiner's tied, that's like 3 campuses, an entire community, and so it's much more complex with the neighborhood codes and those splits, et cetera, and so that needs a little bit more runway in order to do that. It's still a very compressed timeline, but we do believe that Fabian and West Side would be a little bit more efficiently just based on how many students are affected, and so that's the added time that's needed within that process, and in order to do it in a meaningful way. So again, typically we're weeks, months in this process. So we're still going to compress it, and it leads, and then we have to align with board meetings as well for approval of those attendance boundaries.
Okay, you ready for me? Okay. So for me in this decision, at our board retreat, we continued to talk about having teaching and learning be our North Star in all of our decisions, because with budget constraints, we can't do all the things. And so really trying to be laser focused on teaching and learning and thinking about how all decisions impact that. I think this includes being very fiscally responsible to make sure that staff and administration have the resources that they need to implement high quality instruction for 40,000 plus students. And I think that's what's hard about this decision is we can see the impact that this has on all the students that are directly affected. But our job is also to keep in mind in a larger context how it affects the whole district. And so I think that that's just been a constant piece for me that I keep thinking through. We know, I agree with Gloria that given the funding situation, we will have to likely move to consolidation to make sure that we are preserving those resources for teaching and learning. And, I think that that is a very painful thing to say and have to make decisions about and to know how it's going to impact everyone. That being said, the thing that was really difficult for me, similar to Gloria, was understanding why Steiner Ranch was chosen, particularly after the legislation changed the ability to make that a tuition-based pre-K center. And so that was part of it. And then also, again, similar, it's echoing, thinking about this similarly, what is the larger context of schools with low enrollment, not just elementary, but middle school, and how do we come up with a plan for, that region, that area that makes sense as a whole, not just this school or not, this school or not. And so I think for me, this is really resonating with me, this idea of really trying to maximize our building space to be as efficient as possible. Again, not just for the sake of efficiency, but for the goal to maximize teaching and learning and preserve our administration and teachers' ability to do what they can do. And so that just keeps coming to mind. I do think that our community has been through so much over the last 8 months. And so I do think that it'll be important for there not to be just an endless time period of, I think, trying to create some stability and some certainty, because this has just been, I can see it's exhausting for everyone. And I think people would just like to know what our plan is and let's move forward. We want to make good decisions. We don't want to make them without thought, but we also want to make sure that we are making them, not dragging them out for extended periods of time. So I think that those decisions will also give, whatever the decision is, will give those campuses and those administrators the time to have a long runway to make a plan for success, to make sure that whatever changes are made, that those campuses are set up for success. So I think those are the things that are going through my mind.
Everyone knows not last board meeting, but the meeting before, I was like, I'm just going to throw it out there. Why Steiner Ranch? When I'm looking at the thresholds and I'm looking at our resolution, I can't, as a board member, go and say, this is why we closed them, because I don't know why. And so, Gloria, thank you for throwing that out there, and because I'm kind of feeling that same direction. Because for me, this entire process, and I know people get tired of it, it shouldn't be single to one section of the district. This is a district-wide issue, and I feel like we have a opportunity to really embrace this problem and really pivot or be nimble in a way that's going to get us to be what we need to be. And so I am very much in support of giving administration direction to get us another plan. And when I say another plan, when Gloria talked about this secondary alignment, I want to see it across the district. Like, we know we have 2 middle schools right now that are going to be bursting at the seams. And so it's hard for me to start, like what we're doing right now, siloing one elementary, and then we're going to go do this section of the district, this section of the districts. That's how you create chaos, and that's how you create neighborhoods against neighborhoods. And we are one LISD. And so for me, I really, when I think about this, I know our budget situation is the way it is, and we're going to have a very hard conversation come January 9th. We remember what last year's conversations were like when we were going to take APs and whatnot. So this board's going to have to really have to make sure we give direction to administration very clearly on our next steps. But for me, I want to see a clearer plan going forward for the South Side. I love Gloria's idea of this innovative academies, because we're hearing nonstop, we've got to be competitive, we've got to be innovative. Yes, that costs money, but if we're going to get the kids to stay in our school district and not just the South Side, because we know the North Side's losing them at a rapid pace, we got to start changing things here. And so I would like to see administration directive and really look into what these alternative programs look like for our campuses, because believe it or not, these programs are here, and we've got to keep moving that needle and ball. So I'm in agreement with you.
I'll say too, when I say maybe we're piloting them in the South, because we do know that we're losing the most students to charters in Leander, in the North. And a lot of those charters are K-8 type of academies. And so maybe there's an opportunity for us to create something like that. We pilot it here where we have the space, where we have the capacity to do something like that. And then how does that fit into our secondary system, or how does that fit into our system in the North? I think it's an opportunity to provide a different type of learning, where there's this, this environment that I think a lot of people are looking at different types of, students thriving in different environments and providing different alternatives for some of our families that may have left for charters, looking for those smaller K-8 academy style things, or K-3 or 4-8. So I'm not locking or stuck on one formula, but something like that we could try piloting, in the southern end where we definitely have that space and fluidity right now.
I agree with you, very much so. I think this is the perfect time for us to be bold and innovative, and here's an opportunity for us to really take that pivot. And I think I'll just end with, to me, I went back and forth. This has been a long journey. Everyone knows I've sat on this committee since at the very beginning. This has been hard. This is a very hard process. And so I think for me, the way I look at this is, it's a problem-tunity. Like, we're not delaying a hard decision. We're going to make this better. We're going to get this in the track to be a strong, stable system. And with new leadership, I'm just excited to see where this is going to go. So I am very much in agreement with this direction that Gloria has suggested. Trustee, you're next.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where to start. But Trish is ready. Start with it. Go ahead, Trish.
I just have a few questions, so I can't ask questions until I know what. So I'm looking at what's in front of us. So this looks like I'm reading, we've got a sentence, and then we've got a second sentence. So it's not one really long one. The last sentence says, in the southern portion of the district. So it makes me think that both sentence 1 and 2 are all, so this whole motion is discussing southern portion. Is there a reason why we say southern portion instead of the VHS feeder pattern? Why are we?
This was my first attempt of doing this, so I am.
But is that what we're talking about, the VHS feeder pattern?
We really are talking about that feeder pattern, and I'm saying this because, and I'm talking about the 2027-28 school year, because I personally don't believe we're in a position to think about consolidation in that area for next school year based on the timing, I don't feel confident that that's the right campus. When we made that decision, when that decision was first presented to us, it was really talking about this pre-K, right? And having that accessible at the front of the neighborhood. All of that has changed, and I feel like those situations change, so we also need to change our matrix of how we're looking at this. So when I wrote this, Trish, I was thinking about, I'm acknowledging that there needs to be a scenario for a campus closure. I don't know what campus it is. I'd like administration to kind of look at what gives us stability in our middle schools down there. And so, you know, if we were looking at some K through 8 academies at those schools, what elementary schools would make sense to consolidate? And they could go to a K through 8 academy at one of those middle schools, or they could go to a different elementary in that area. You know, having different scenarios like that. Not saying that it has to be that one, but I'm literally writing down like different scenarios of what that could look like. So Trish, this is a very messy motion. So Phil, that's a great question, and it doesn't need to say Southern. It should say the Vandergrift feeder patterns.
Yes, no, that helps. I appreciate like what we call it, Tina, like co-creation. We're going to build off of conversations. You're bringing something solid to the table, going, look, here's my questions and here's what I'm thinking. And to go along with like Laura's conversation of stability and certainty, those are some of the questions I'm just going to have. So I'm just looking at the wording to make sure I understand what we're saying. It says as well as the consolidation scenario for 2027, 2028. Now, I understand that we're looking at numbers in front of us, and it seems like we're going to have to do something with the campuses. But what happens if a mitigation strategy does increase enrollment? Does that mean you then have to consolidate? Or, I mean, I don't know if we're going to come up with a solution that gets 500 kids, but I believe this community, when you put their mind to it, we might get 500 kids. And so does this make it a certainty, or does it just mean we're giving the community a certainty of like, look, we're going to go down this path, but if something changes and enrollment picks up all across, I just want to make sure I understand what the language is in the motion here.
You know, I would think to allow consideration as you progress on, if this was to focus primarily on the Vandergrift feeder pattern, just because there are uncertainties right now, and I think that's why we're having these conversations, you know, just about open enrollment. But y'all have seen just the environment change just over the, you know, even the considerations in front of you, the scenarios, and so. I'm not going to direct you to do anything, but I think those are some of the considerations to look at if you're looking at an entire, you know, feeder pattern in K-8 can be brought up, you know, but we have to approach that carefully, right? Just because of some of the implications on the educational and operational environment. But those are exploration items that could be looked at over a period of time.
Trish, or Jeremy, when would we know what the open enrollment numbers are? When would we have those numbers again? I know I asked you this last week or a few days ago.
Yeah, because we have a couple of windows, and you know, April is going to be a time frame which we have that first window, so we're going to see the numbers. And again, as soon as we know and get a good idea, we can share those, and we'll kind of see geographically where those are coming from and where they're requesting as well. So later in the spring, we should know some more detail.
Thank you.
All right. I was originally told I had 3 to 5 minutes, so I had some stuff I wanted to kind of speak to, and then I want to speak to Steiner, because I've been carrying some notes around for the past couple of meetings, so I'm going to start there and then address Steiner. Because I wanted to begin tonight really kind of addressing the students, and one, just thanking the students for showing up. I think what really was compelling to me, not only students in the room, but students that may be watching, you talked about kind of your teachers, the meaningful relationships you have. You talked about your friends, the sense of belonging and the school pride. You spoke about being welcome and feeling welcome in your schools. And I just wanted to like say you're going to be okay. And just know that the adults are working to preserve the best parts of the student experience that you described. And you're getting to witness what constructive but difficult kind of dialogue speaks to. And I just want to assure you that you're receiving one of the best public educations in Central Texas in Texas and in the country for sure. And so just keep using your voice, stay engaged. I wanted to kind of speak to the parents and thank you all for showing up, sometimes in agreement, sometimes in disagreement, but certainly with care and advocacy for students. And so I hope you join me in just telling the kiddos and telling young folks that they're going to be okay, and that as adults may kind of disagree, that we're modeling kind of the graduate profile in this. And so just wanted to say thank you for just engaging. I definitely wanted to acknowledge the board and admin. It's been a journey, and like I'm proud of where we are, and so just wanted to address that. For me, kind of these conversations have always kind of rooted in two things: protecting the student experience and protecting the long-term kind of solvency of the district. And so as we kind of speak to Steiner in particular, I think it does require kind of a different approach. I think Steiner and that the Vandergrift kind of feeder pattern is its own ecosystem. And I think, as Gloria mentioned, you know, I don't think the area can sustain 3 elementary schools, but we're also seeing that we need a comprehensive solution, and that we know that middle school enrollment is also something that we want to address. And so I am in agreement that we need a fuller, more comprehensive plan, one that addresses and one allowing open enrollment to explore that as a lever. I want to, you know, I think affirming that, you know, we may need some consolidation in 27, 28, but pausing on naming Steiner Ranch specifically, and I'm all in favor of directing administration to return with kind of clear options for a more holistic plan. I think this would give us kind of the flexibility aligned with the longer range goals of the plan. For the motion that was introduced, I think it's on the right track. I think there's just an opportunity to probably simplify it a little bit. Just simply directing the district to come with a comprehensive plan that includes addressing low enrollment in the Vandergrift feeder pattern. I know, it just says it's a lot here, and it directs them to do certain things, and so I think there's a way to just simplify it, just to.
Just as long as we're also including the secondary alignment across the district, I think.
Again, just making a suggestion that I think it'd be
Sean?
simple to include that, but not put parameters on it right now, and provide space for a little more flexibility to direct the district to come back with the plan with some of the ideas that we mentioned. And I think the attorney was reacting to what he was given, and so I think there's a way to accomplish this in a more simplified way, and that's just, again, provide my opinion. So I'll pass it on to.
Hold on real quick, we're discussing the motion really quick.
Did you have a comment?
So to be clear, though, I don't believe you've made the motion yet, so I mean, you can modify it however you wish to at this point, without having to go through a lot of parliamentary procedure.
Nicosi, it says district-wide secondary, and Trish made the amendment, the change. We haven't made a motion, but she's, you know, to include the Vandergrift High School portion of the district. That needs to be in there. Dr. Clark?
I think Tricia's clarification of the Vandergrift within the Vandergrift feeder pattern is a lot more clear than just saying the southern portion of the district. But
What is an alignment plan?
I do think the secondary alignment is important because I want to see how that impacts kind of all secondary. So that is important because we have schools that are over enrolled. We have middle school campuses that are busting at the seams. So this is kind of how does this play into it? I think there's a lot of different ideas that have been thrown out there. And so this is just simply saying the district to bring us, you know, some different options. It's not prescribing so much an option, but bring us some options specifically around our secondary stability, and then also specific to low enrolled schools and the Vandergrift feeder pattern.
All right, go Dr. Clark.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure all of that is clear from the motion.
Well, that's what I think I was, just for what, I understand what you're saying, but I think we need clarity in the motion so that what we're saying, because it does say district-wide secondary, and then it narrows in on the VHS feeder. So it might be, how do we, is it look at this district-wide and then with some ideas to implement first in the VHS, or that's where we need clarity?
Is there a way where possibly we can talk about, like Gloria said, I've worked on this, I'm just putting up, can we like talk about what we're thinking this means or what we think would be good, and then craft based on the conversations and pull that back, like take a 10-minute break then and then pull that back so that Nkosi can put in like what he's thinking or Sade's got a thought.
I would love that. Like I said, this was a first attempt, so no one's going to hurt my feelings. I want it to be clear. And as you read it, Chris, Dr. Clark and Trish, I almost feel like maybe it is two separate things. So, but I would love for everyone to kind of put in their pieces, and then perhaps Sean and administration can go back and kind of take all of those different pieces and craft something that makes sense to everyone.
I like that, because now that I'm looking at it, I don't want, say, Stiles Middle School to think we're going to close their school and they've got 1,700 kids. So I would, and that's an issue. So I would, and that goes back to I hate what we're siloing. So I would like it to include all. Okay, Sade.
So, I'd had an issue with the Steiner Ranch recommendation, mainly because starting with the use of the building, as in not knowing what the building's going to be used for, and then with the update that we got sitting there for 1.5 to 2 years. So that was a major issue for me. But as it relates to the motion, I think that in coming up with ideas of different scenarios within the long-range plan, and just taking into consideration what we've already heard from some members of our community, that was within the context of the long-range planning committee. They had their suggestion, so I will just recommend that you also include that. I drew up the numbers myself. We still have an under-enrollment problem in some situations there, so, but I think as part of the scenarios, you should also include that.
Trish? Give me a minute, I'll pass. Let me. Paul?
So, is what we're talking about is backing away from the consolidation and trying a different resolution altogether from the decision for the two schools, for Fabian and Steiner Ranch? Is that what this?
We're only talking about Steiner right now.
But would it include Fabian?
No,
or?
because we're going to have a motion for each. We're doing it separate. So right now, Gloria started with Steiner, and that's where we're
Okay,
starting.
well, on the sheet, it just talks about to approve elementary campus consolidations, and doesn't separate there. So just want to make sure, because my feeling is the process has been flawed for all the schools that we talked about. When we added the threshold level at 500, all of a sudden you looked at it, there really were 15 schools that fell within that under 500. And I didn't like that all of a sudden that meant a trigger for the administration, and if you went below the 500 or 400, now you could be considered for it. I said last meeting that I thought that was too high, and I still feel that way. So any resolution where we're looking at truthfully trying to keep the schools open, because I still believe that we have the money to keep them all open. I know there's some challenges, but I do believe we still have the money to do that. I do believe that we have the enrollment, and if we let those levers happen, it would be very interesting to see this April, if they all were open, what would happen. Because if some of them are closed, well, now obviously where you move is important, where you put your kid right now is important. And the community has shown up en masse, and they don't support any closure. So in my book, 3 strikes, you're out.
Trish? So as we're talking about the motion, and I guess, Sean, you're working on some language,
one of the things is this coming to mind. I'm just not sure if this is clear. It's really close. I mean, thank you, Gloria, for working on some things. Like, I think this is a good conversation. The thing that keeps resonating with me on all of the discussions of consolidation is, do we have a clear plan for facility usage? I think that's important for our staff. I think that's important for the community. And I think when you end up presenting or bringing a recommendation to us, I think there should be at least an outline of what we're thinking, and something that kind of helps us see that, in theory, hopefully, the first thing you looked at was something that brings enrollment into the campus. So, you know, if you're talking about New Hope can bring enrollment into a campus because New Hope can, you know, get more students. So that's what I would like to see, hopefully, but I don't want to get into the weeds. So what I'd like for Sean to think about is, how can we just make a request for administration to look at things that bring enrollment into the district, and to bring us those solutions, and keep our hands that I'm telling you exactly what it has to look like. But I think that's the thing that keeps resonating with me, is, do we have a plan for the facility usage? And if we end up doing this where we're gonna look at 27, 28, you know, I think it makes sense that, you know, board or administration wants to go, look, we're looking at consolidating a school so we can help manage expectations. But if they do bring up that enrollment, I feel like there's something we've got to say there too. So I'm not really sure how to balance that. So hopefully y'all can figure out something, again, that doesn't get us in the weeds, but kind of is clear in a very challenging time and process. I'd also like to say, and I just didn't, and I'm worried that if I don't say it now, we've got a lot to go through, is that I know for this board that y'all are going over the materials and looking at things and talking to community members just like I am, are very similar to what I'm doing. I understand that when we have our kiddos stand up here and say, please don't close my school, I love my teacher, that speaks to our heart. Like, that's what we want them to do. We want them to love their school. But when we're looking at low enrollment thresholds, we have to talk about, like, okay, how do we do this well and thoughtfully and intentionally? And so if the inevitable happens that we're going to have to consolidate, how are we doing this well? How are we making sure we're bringing enrollment into our campus to offer future stability? And I really appreciate all the parents, all the teachers, all the staff and students who have shared their heart with us. It does mean something. These aren't easy decisions, and yeah, we got elected to take the hard votes. I'll take them, but I want to know that we're intentional about this and taking care of our community in the process.
So Trish, I don't know if this will be an answer to your first question, but I am really, I don't know if proud, but when the board did the resolution, right, we've really been leading into this. And so this motion does say in alignment with a long-range planning resolution. So everything you just said is captured in that resolution, and that is for us to lean in and push admin to get us information and still keep us out of the weeds. So I mean, to me, I think that's I think the resolution is what's going to guide us, and it's going to be able to do exactly what you said without us directing admin, give me this, because in the resolution it says at the bottom, administration shall provide regular updates on long-range planning and its impact on financial planning, including key benchmark data. So I think for us as board members, we lean into that resolution and we hold their feet to the fire. That's why we made the resolution.
No, I love that, Anna, and can I build on that too? It talks in there about including our community, and that's what we're talking about as well, as how we include moving forward. So it is in our resolution. Maybe there's something to Nikosi's point of kind of streamlining. Maybe we can just lean back into the resolution on some parts as well.
Go ahead.
No.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Just to clarify, there seems to be a little bit of overlap, but I think there's place for this motion and a potential vote. But also within the resolution, we talked about a process to develop some innovative programming that this would fall into, but this is also about zoning, and it talks about consolidation scenarios of a couple of schools, which is separate. So just to be clear, as we're developing what this resolution may be, that we know that work is also going to be happening as part of this as well.
Yeah, I think there's opportunity to simplify it, to get what we're trying to get to. I think it's going to help us with timeline to figure out how we sequence the directive, and also not to put too many parameters and limit actually what the options are. So I just think it's two motions. I think the first one is the comprehensive plan to address to address elementary consolidation and low enrollment in the Vandergrift feeder pattern for 27-28. Just that simple, without the, and then the other is a comprehensive district-wide plan for secondary. It's so different. Just if you wouldn't mind, just let me and then just respond to it and react to it. I appreciate it. And so the first one, because in the original motion, that's what it's my understanding is speaking to is because the difference. So why it could be two is for the Vandergrift feeder pattern. We're speaking about elementary consolidation and secondary, and coming up with a plan for that entire feeder pattern. And then the first part of the motion here, which I think is the second part, is just a comprehensive district-wide plan for secondary to address both low and over enrollment. It says alignment plan, I just don't know what that means, but I think it's a comprehensive district-wide plan for secondary. And I would suggest that those are just sequenced differently, where, so it just allows maybe for a different sequencing.
So I'm going to seek a little clarification here since I'm trying to draft on the fly. I'm hearing a lot of what you're talking about is already in the resolution. And so you don't have to take any further action tonight for that to happen. If you simply don't make a motion to close Steiner, because I think that's the campus you're talking about in the Vandergrift feeder pattern, the resolution still stands. The reason you would take action tonight would be if you want to put further specificity in that directive in that resolution or not at this juncture. And so I would just say that you do have an opportunity to just take a pause. You don't need to come up with that tonight. I mean, I will help you. We will get there if that's the direction you want to go as a board tonight. But there's no urgency on that front, in my opinion. If in fact what you're talking about is a longer term, you want to give some further direction on how you want that resolution to be implemented. So that's just food for thought.
So I kind of disagree, and the reason why I disagree is I don't want us to keep siloing communities, and that to me is siloing communities. Like, this is a district-wide issue, and I mean, we've got to do something. And I think, to me, I understand what you're saying, Sean, but this is of urgency, and I feel like the board has got to put together this motion, and it's got to be this motion, because one, it ties it to the long-range resolution. We're not siloing our district again. I'm tired of us pitting each other against each other. And so for me, this gives the board an opportunity to lean into that resolution, but most importantly, I think it's given our administration clear direction on what we need to do to get to that next step. And so I would really much like to keep this resolution the way it is, but indicate the Vandergrift High School pattern, Vandergrift High School portion of the district, because again, this is a district-wide issue, and we've got to get our district aligned with each other.
But aren't these just in line with what Sean was saying? Aren't these just going to be agenda items, and that's what signals to, or a discussion with admin that this is what we'll like to see as of this date? Give us a presentation about it, so they know to work on it. It's really just a board meeting agenda item.
It can be, yes. I'm just telling you have options.
Okay.
I'll go over whatever direction you want to go. I just want to make sure that you understand that you're not locked into just doing this.
So I think a key piece of what you said, Sean, is that a lot of this is in the resolution, but there is, what I'm hearing from the board is some additional specificity, and that is around a comprehensive secondary alignment plan, and also a consolidation scenario for 2 schools in the VHS feeder, and also models those secondary plans, those secondary alignment plans that have integrated elementary and middle grades. Those are the 3 key points I'm pulling from this. I'm looking to the board for clarity to make sure I'm reading that in addition to what's already in. So the resolution would be more about how we do that work. There is some overlap in terms of some of those expectations that I mentioned already. So those are the three, are those the three things that I'm hearing from you?
Well, I'm just wanting to make sure I hear, because what you're saying is then, in addition, you're saying that is the resolution not clear enough or not directional enough that we need to say we're going to consolidate 2 schools or 1 to 2 schools in the Steiner Ranch, 2027, 2028. Well, if we're going to do that, then I'm like, well, I want language to say if enrollment increases, that doesn't happen. I mean, just gives them some sort of clarity. And I want us to be consistent. So if we're just going to say, well, the resolution covers it, then doesn't the resolution also cover consolidation? So why are we specifying I'm just trying to make sure we're consistent on when we're leaning into the resolution and saying, yes, it's already in there, and we're like, no, we really need to be directional here. I think Gloria's really put some thought into like what she sees as far as things that'll get us to that stability. I'm just still trying to make sure that I understand that the pieces in there are the direction that we're all talking about.
Sure.
Because what I still don't see in here is, I mean, how does this say you're going to come to us with like a use for the facility? For me, I just don't want to end up here again, and that's really important, that if this is going to be part of the discussions, like I want to see that kind of direction in there as well. If we go down there, I still want the if, because who knows what could happen with enrollment.
That would be a fourth. I did have that written down, the clear use for the facility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, though, if there's any consolidation, what's going to guide that is the thresholds that we just approved last week.
Yeah, that would trigger the review from administration and board to consider options once a campus meets that threshold too.
Trish, I understand what you're saying, and there's 2 pieces that stick out for me that may be right. May address this, maybe not. The first is that it's not saying that those plans, or whatever we want to call them, would automatically go into place. So there would be, to me, it feels like that is ready to go, so that if open enrollment doesn't work, we're not starting from scratch to figure out a plan. Like, we have some ideas ready to go so that we can consider those. Obviously, if mitigation works or open enrollment works, then we wouldn't need to go there. So that to me, that language felt important. I don't know how that feels to you, but the other one is, again, this piece that the purpose of the building is important, but that it, for sake of brevity, is included in that long-range planning resolution, the first line. So it's kind of a shorthand way of saying that all the things in that resolution would be included as part of consideration. So I don't know how that sounds or not. I don't know if that makes sense.
I'll tell you, in my first version, and all this scratch out is basically all those things that we did include in the planning resolution about, so what's going to happen to the boating, and are we going to, all of those pieces. And I know it's still too long, and I'm not saying that it's right where it's at. Like I said, no one's going to hurt my feelings, and I want us to co-author something that feels right. But I was thinking about all of those same items, but I thought, okay, that's in the resolution we adopted. So I feel I'm confident not having to name that again because it's in the resolution. So that was my thought process on that.
No, I like that. I think there are things that I was thinking was in the resolution that would be done before we even had this discussion that didn't. And so, I mean, it's just different expectations. So I guess it's possible that maybe us just having a discussion puts the expectation. It doesn't need to be in a board. But there's this other part of me that's like, gosh, I kind of feel like we need a little bit of maybe a timeline on the direction or something, so we're all on the same page of like, hey, this is going to come back to us in the fall or something. Again, I'm trying not to box y'all in. I'm trying not to get in the weeds. But what I really don't want to do is find ourselves in a few more months, coming right back to this discussion again. And so I felt like the resolution was actually pretty strong and solid. And I could actually see like how some of these could be inferred in the resolution, but we're drawing them out for a reason because Gloria is saying like, hey, I feel like this is missing. So that's where I'm at, is I just want to make sure we're giving our community clarity and stability moving forward, as they're like, oh, this is what the board says they're going to do, and this is kind of how administration is going to work on these pieces. Because community kept asking us, what are y'all working? I'm like, no, we don't work until we get here to the meeting. This is us working. It's administration that goes and acts and gets all this information and comes back. And so I just wanted to be clear enough and understand what it is we're directing you to do. Communication, I mean, how do we loop in that community input part is going to be a really important piece as well. So facility use is going to be important to me, and that communication piece with our communities is going to be vital. But maybe if we just say, maybe cleaning this up, because what I'm looking for is the long range, if we make these two motions, the long range planning resolution discussion goes away in the second part. So maybe we can clean it up to draw those inferences from those things. So maybe in a bit, after we've all had a say, we can take a break and Sean can come up with some clarifying language.
And Trish, I know as I was thinking about this, it could be, hey, I think I'd like to see on a future board meeting. And it could be things like that, as you mentioned, Sean, but I don't want to be back in the same position in a few months. I wanted some clarity on expectations so that we're not, I wanted it to be a little more firm than that. And that's why I did want to make a motion that these were some expectations that we had, and to bring us back something that has a little more, framework around it, without getting into the weeds, that's connected to our long-range planning resolution, because I don't want to be in this same place in a few months, and gives us the flexibility. We will see what happens with open enrollment, in a few months. We'll see how many applications we get in. We'll have a sense of what's happening there. But we also, we need to move forward and make a solid plan.
I agree with that. I mean, we talk a lot about community involvement. This board and administration is going to have to do a lot to gain that trust back, and this is one step to gaining that trust. And so for me, I know that I can sit up here and y'all are going to go do what the work that the board directs, but for me, this gives me that extra layer of be able to come back and be like, well, the board made this motion, this is where we're at. And I think we owe it to our community to put that extra step in between us, this resolution, to really see some progress going forward.
So are we still talking about not consolidating then, and for Steiner Ranch? Is that what we're talking about? Of not closing?
Do we want to take a break so Sean could work on that language and come back? Somebody explain to Paul what's happening.
We've talked a lot, and I think the community is probably a little confused about.
So I think we're
what
focused
we're
right now
trying to do here.
on Steiner in particular. And if we were to approve this motion, and a lot of this is just wordsmithing, then we would not close schools in Steiner for the 26-27, and the district. And then so we're talking about, and we would direct the district to come back with a plan that would impact the 27-28 school year. That's more comprehensive. That includes middle school and elementary consolidation plans. And so in effect, we would not be closing schools. We would not be closing schools in Steiner for 26-27 should we approve this particular motion.
And it's the whole Vandergrift feeder pattern, not just Steiner. So we're including that
Steiner,
whole
but
pattern.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess are you more discussion?
I just want to restate to make sure that before we go and look at something here that we are talking about, it seems like 4 things that are more specific than what is already in the resolution. So a clear plan for campus use if there is a consolidation, a comprehensive secondary alignment plan that's district-wide, 1 to 2 consolidation campuses somewhere in the Vandegrift High School feeder pattern, but also include in the Vandegrift High School feeder pattern plan, but also as part of the comprehensive secondary alignment plan, maybe some expanded grade spans that look at a different configuration, K4, 5-8, K-8, et cetera. Is that what those are the 4 key things? Right. Okay.
Just to get some clarification, so the expanded grade span, I love the discussion of the K4, I think we need to talk about this district-wide at some point, so I understand why we talk about that there. But we're also doing the low enrollment thresholds, and so I know you are going to work on mitigation strategies. I know you're working with all of our 7 campuses on mitigation but does that now roll, because of this resolution, will that roll River Ridge and Steiner Ranch up into that next group, and you're all going to work on mitigation strategies and give them the opportunity to think of other ways they could innovate with their staff? Could they do, multiple grades in one class and stuff? Does this allow for that? Or does there need to be something if you're to, does this lit staff come to you, principals, administration, say, we're thinking outside the box and here's how we think we can go forward?
I'm going to mirror back what I'm hearing from the board that as they're talking about this, that would be okay and allowed. In fact, we're going to do that as part of what the resolution directed us to do, was look at those different innovative things. That's already considered. This is I almost view this as like an amendment to that resolution with some more specificity around these 4 things. And I just want to, does that answer your question before I get?
It does answer and that's great. Then my last question is, it does say that we're now going to have a consolidation of 1 to 2 schools. And so I just want to know, can you help give me framework on that? Is that what you see as, our Gloria,
It doesn't even need to say 1 to school. It can say schools or school,
I'm just trying to let the community know, low enrollment.
What I'm
those
trying
are
to
the
say
next steps.
is the data is showing us that we're going to have to consolidate schools.
Yeah.
And let's think about how we can do creative, great structure, creative solutions.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying I want them to go back and look at where it makes sense for us to close schools. I don't know if it's 1, I don't know if it's 2.
Right.
I want them to
My
do that. And
administration.
so when I wrote 1 to 2, it was like 1/2. And
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I agree with the administration. I guess my question here is, just a bit of pushback is, doesn't our resolution though already say, when we get to enrollment thresholds, you are going to go look at consolidations and come back? I mean, isn't there already something in the natural process? Is that language necessary for this, right?
I think it is addressed there. Again, I'm just trying to mirror what I'm hearing from everybody. Is that the more specificity around that is a recognition more so for the community to know that while we're not going to possibly take any action tonight on Steiner Ranch Elementary, there is recognition that there is low enrollment, that we may need to have a plan to address that from a consolidation standpoint. I think what we need to be clear about as well is it does talk about these expanded grade spans. That's not a directive to do that. I'm not hearing that. What I'm hearing is a directive to consider that and see how it could almost help mitigate some of the lower enrollment.
Yes.
By doing this in the South, does this potentially draw other people into that area and help offset, and in theory, maybe prevent consolidation? But data tells us other districts, their experiences tell us is that a consolidation may be necessary, but not, we'll see. I think this is a powerful community. And if we have schools filled up, we don't want to close them. Nobody wants to do that.
No,
Yeah.
and to Gloria's point, though, this could be a pilot for the other part of the campus, the other part of the districts, right? If we have low enrollment for a bit, that might be something we need to look at. I guess my only thought is, as we're working on this next draft, I don't know if by saying consolidation of one or two really helps. I think it does kind of muddy, because we have already in our resolution that says, when you get to low threshold here, we're gonna look at consolidation. And I'm looking at,
I think it should just say consolidation scenarios of schools, just consolidation scenarios, not of 1 to 2 schools, just consolidation scenarios I think that could be the end of it right there. Not saying 1 to 2, because we don't know. I want them to have some flexibility and creating that.
I think I hear what you're saying. The only thing I'm thinking about is I want to make sure that it's clear to the community that we are still considering consolidation, particularly when we say like within this Vandergrift feeder pattern, because I don't want it to come as a surprise to anybody. And so I think having that language in there is helpful, just to be really clear for the community where we are and what we're looking at.
I agree with the clarity. My challenge just runs up against, we're already saying things in the resolution, so then why are we highlighting certain things and not? And then, I'm gonna get excited down here and start wanting to highlight certain things. My communication piece is gonna come out and all, so I'm just balancing in my head. I'm just thinking of my discussion later, but we can see what it looks like and go from there.
I was thinking the same. You were like, okay, that's already in there, but then we also said, the communication and the plan for, and so, yes, I think we all do that, right? It's like, well, that's in there. So I think we need to either honor that it's in there or not, right? And just say, okay, if it's addressed in the resolution, then it's addressed in the resolution, rather than belabor the entire, spelling out all of those pieces.
So I think if we're trying to get more specific than the resolution, then we should be looking at asking for a plan that includes timelines and any community engagement that is going to be included. Because if I just say, come back with something effective, that's going to be effective 2027, 28, and it's like, when are we going to get it? A year from now? 3 months from now? So I think it should include getting a plan.
So I want to remind y'all, the last board meeting, they did give us a long-range planning timeline. And that is what's driving this discussion. This is what this is based on the resolution. This is what we're leaning into. If board members, if we feel like, and part of the resolution says, if we feel like we need more workshops or more meetings, it's pretty clear. We love having these workshops. We'll do that. And so I think we're making this a lot complicated than what it needs to be. And so right now I'm gonna give Dr. Clark the mic, and then we're gonna take a 7-minute recess so you can get this together. But right now, let's let Dr. Clark go.
To your other point, Sade, one of the things I just wanted to highlight, mainly for our community who's here tonight, that there is part of the resolution. I know you've all been following along, but just to be clear, that in that resolution, which we are more than willing to meet, is that administration shall engage the community, including families and staff members, as partners in implementing solutions. Administration shall commit to transparent phase communication, distinguishing exploration and or recommendation from action to prevent undue concern from before action is taken. So we're talking about a lot of things up here today, and I think it's necessary just from an assurance standpoint that we are going to still follow the rest of this resolution in the way that we carry this out. I think we're taking.
Awesome. All right, board members, we're going to take a 7-minute break to get a motion, and we will return in 7 minutes. It is 8:35 p.m. and we are now back from our little recess. Board members, will you please look at the new revised motion that is on in front of you?
I'm looking at the motion. I really appreciate this. Thank you for listening to us and bringing that. Before I get too far into the motion, I would be remiss, I think, not to say, I really want to thank all of these people over here and y'all and Dr. Clark. The last few weeks have been like, hey, we're going to have a special meeting Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And y'all, we've asked for no more data. Yes, the same data, but in this format. And then the data in that format. And y'all have done that. And so I really hope that this doesn't feel like there's some piece that's missing. I feel like we're at this place because you gave us everything that we needed. And so just from like the bottom of my heart, I just want to appreciate y'all. Y'all have spent so much time doing all of this and giving so much time to this board and making sure that we were comfortable and taking all the phone calls. And I know Jeremy sending you texts, can we talk this through one more time? And I mean, with all of us, right? I mean, we've all been doing this to administration. So just thank you for giving us so much time and so much attention and detail. And Gloria wants the data this way. Well, Trish wants it in this format, and Kosi wants it in this format, and y'all oblige. So thank you so much for all of that. In terms of the revised statement, I love this. I feel like it really listens and addresses all of those different points. I know, Sean, you said it's not completely necessary to do a motion. To me, it was necessary because I wanted to make sure that the community, while tonight we are not voting on a closure in Steiner Ranch, I think we are also saying we realize that there are a lot of under-enrolled schools and we want to do some of this mitigation, but we also want to look at what those consolidation scenarios are for the 27-28 school year, but being thoughtful about, is this the right school? Are these the right schools? Are we doing something that's going to help us in that feeder pattern? So thank you.
I just have a clarification, and maybe Gloria, you can help since you wrote that original. When I heard the first bullet about a comprehensive district-wide secondary alignment plan, I thought that's where it ends, that the whole discussion or consideration about expanded grade span models that integrate elementary and middle grades, that is part of the scenarios for the Vandergrift feeder pattern and not for the entire district.
The way I'm interpreting it is that we know we need to have a secondary alignment, right? Middle school and high school. And I think for me, what this does is this allows administration to think about different ways of how we're educating our students and not limiting those academies just to the Vandergrift feeder pattern, but to the entire district.
So you're saying that they should bring back models that expand grades and that integrate elementary and middle in other parts of the district?
I think if it's what administration is, if that's what they feel like, then I think we're gonna have to let them go and see what they bring back. I mean, we hear a lot about generating revenue and being innovative. We can't silo ourselves just to this part of the district. And so for me, what this does, I mean, we know we got a secondary middle school problem. We have 2 middle schools with over almost 1,500 students. And we also have middle schools that are about 800 in the north. And so for me, what this does, I understand I'm talking about secondary right now though. And so what I would like, instead of siloing just this section of the district, I'd like to see a district-wide alignment plan Because it's essentially, this is the district plan. And so for me, instead of siloing and pitting us up against each other, this is gonna open options to the entire district. So when we talk about alternative education models that we do in LASD, it's not just in this region, it's all over. It's for every single student that we have in LASD.
When I put it in here, I was really thinking, yes, can we pilot this in this feeder pattern? But at the same time, we're talking about how we can bring more students into our district. And yes, we are busting at the seams in the north, right? We have middle schools that are over-enrolled, but are there some things that we can do to compete with all the charters that are coming up? We get the notices of new charters opening in Leander and the Cedar Park area weekly, right? And being able to offer some alternative forms of the way we do K through 12 in Leander ISD. So what I'm saying when I'm doing that, it may be that, okay, our plan is we propose or we plan we could do this in the Vandergrift feeder pattern, and possibly we could do something like this long-term. We could look at, however many years down the road, what that looks like, when we're looking at new builds that may have to happen in that area. Is this something we could consider? I don't know. Don't, I'm throwing things out there. I'm really saying I want that to be a possibility because like Anna said, yes, I think that we need to rethink the way we're doing our learning models. I think there's a real opportunity to create these academies, and whether it's piloting these in the Vandergrift feeder pattern at first, how can we expand that to provide that opportunity in Cedar Park and in the Leander area, where I think that really can drive enrollment and bring a lot of students back that have already left for some type of K through 8 environment. That's what I was thinking, Sade. So it's not so much like bring us a plan to do that next year or the following year, but more of how would that fit into that?
I have just thought, and I know you want to put some parameters that we're going to look at some stuff, and I just wonder still if it's necessary to just put in the parameter of the school year for the 27-28 year. Again, I don't want to have to come back again and have this wonderful people say, hey, wait, we're still good, we're still great. And because we use phrasing like it's a problem versus we're challenged. When we use the phrasing, it's a problem, like the school is a problem, it means like they're doing something bad. That Gibson report did an amazing job where they said they had a 77%, the teachers did a 77% problem with the administration, but 91%, they said they'd never seen it before, 91% said they loved their job. That told me we have great people, and at that time we had bad leadership. And I'd like to get that leadership up there. So hopefully this will do that and put us in the right direction, all on the same page again, because obviously we haven't. I wish we had this discussion right now in September.
Go ahead, Trish.
I was thinking something that Sade was saying, though, about clear timelines. And I also think of what Gloria and I had talked about at break. It's like, how are we making sure we're clear with the community so they don't feel like this just came out of nowhere? I do wonder if instead of saying it's just a possibility for the 2027-2028 school year, would it be better to say with administrative updates, and I know this is, we can shut it down if we don't like it, but with administrative updates starting in the summer of 2025, or 2026. No, what year is it? It's 2025, we're going to 2026, so summer 2025, or something that just says kind of when the updates and the discussions are gonna start coming to us for that, because I think when we're talking about for the 26-27 school year, I still don't know if the community understands, like, would feel included of, oh, well, when does that mean you are gonna start talking about this? Then again, I don't want it to be like this never-ending conversation either, so I'm split. Gloria, maybe you have some clarity, because I'm not sure if.
What I'm hoping they're going to bring us back is a plan that shows how this would look like in the 27-28 school year. what this would look like. Doesn't mean, and when they bring it to us, Jeremy may say, well, this is what's happening with the open enrollment. We had this many applications, and then it adjusts that, it adjusts the plan. But we have a plan that they're gonna bring us that impacts the 27-28 school year. And so I do think that that is important for the community to know that we are looking at this at the 27-28. Yes, we are gonna be flexible. We're gonna see what open enrollment comes. But this plan that we're asking for right here is a scenario for the 27-28 school year.
All right.
27-28 in the Vandergrift feeder pattern. So while the plan would, the secondary, I want to use the right phrasing, comprehensive district-wide secondary alignment would be maybe beyond those, but 27-28 would be specific to the Vandergrift feeder pattern.
Yes, okay, so this gets me at my question, right? Because what I'm just concerned about, we're talking about how, let's see what happens with open enrollment. Let's see what happens with these mitigation stuff. So let's just say, y'all do some mitigation, I don't know, community all pulls together. Amazing things happen. I don't know, it all works fabulously. And things start changing in the fall of 2026, got to make sure calendar's getting ready to change. I've got that right. Because that's when, right, the open enrollment, that's when students can start coming in. And you're talking to communities right now about mitigation thresholds and things they can do different. So maybe they put something in place for that August school year, right? Well, then that means if we end up talking about a possible consolidation, I feel like we end up right back here in December trying to make 11th hour decision for the upcoming school year. And I don't want to do that again. So I just want to make sure when you think of this timeline, because Gloria's already said, let's make sure we consider that secondary. And you're saying, well, that might take a little longer, that the timelines we have in here are realistic.
I just want to add, at our board retreat, we talked about completely redoing our board calendar and our board agendas to be more efficient and to give board members direction and information of where we're going. I understand what you're saying, Trish, but I don't think tonight we need to sit and plan the next 12-month agenda calendar. I do think the board set parameters this weekend in regards to what that agenda looks like. And I can assure you, I know this issue's not going away because this isn't just siloed to this conversation. This is part of the budget. This is part of teaching and learning. And if we look at the long-range planning calendar that Jeremy put together, there's several sequences in there that are going to impact whether those enrollment thresholds work or not. And so I understand what you're saying, but I need you to give me trust here that our agenda items will have that. We are not going to just surprise community. This is going to be very intentional as we have been, but we've got to get back to doing work of student experience and that. And so it's going to happen, but if you want, you and I can, whenever we get that board agenda calendar ready, and we can have a board meeting about it if we want, I'm okay with that. No, but I understand what you're saying, because the way we're going to format our board meetings is going to be a change to not only this board, but the district. And so I'm okay having a board agenda item, say when we get that, after that board budget workshop, if you could just give Dr. Clark and I a chance to kind of go over there and then give y'all kind of a timeline, like when it's going to come, and that way we can communicate to the community these presentations are coming.
Well, no, and Anna, I apologize. Again, this is the time we have all of our conversation. My first conversation was like, oh, can we have a timeline so we know what's getting rolled out? I pivoted, and so let me make sure I'm clear on the pivot part, because now my pivot question is like, yeah, I don't know if that really, I'll push that aside. Great, Anna, y'all go do what you need to do. Here's my pivot. Here's my question, though. We're saying we're directing you to bring us, or to have discussions for the 27-28 school year. And I'm thinking, ooh, though, Gloria just said the first part is we're going to have this secondary alignment, and you said that's going to take a little bit of time to get us. Are our time frames now matching for you? I mean, are we being realistic that you're going to, because 27-28, that means that, you know, you'd have to make the plan, what, in the fall?
So I was going to clarify that I'm not saying we would do all of these things in 27-28, but we're going to, this, to me, I view this as a conversation in a different frame with our community, and then bringing back on a consistent basis with the board is what I'm hearing the board president say about board agenda items and the calendar that's upcoming. So I can appreciate the clarity you're looking for, and I think I can speak for just about everybody sitting over there that we don't want this to extend any longer than it needs to because of the people we serve. We need that clarity for them. So what I'm hearing tonight is we don't think closing and consolidating Steiner Ranch is the right thing to do today. So here's the direction, and let's go work on this, and then we'll have this ongoing communication with the community as articulated in that resolution. That's why I wanted to read that part, and then we'll bring back to you where we are and what that looks like on those agenda items. I think it's a good concern to have, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
No, thank you for the clarity. And so we will be getting these updates. And so this doesn't seem like too big of a hurdle, given that we're already asking y'all to do the resolutions. We're already asking y'all to do mitigation strategy. I mean, this board knows we're asking a lot of staff. We're asking y'all to do a lot and roll out open enrollment and get our community to bring people in for open enrollment all by that August, right? There seems like this big August deadline. And then you're also going to be bringing some discussion on the secondary alignment. So then the discussions here, like, that's when I feel like we'll have the numbers on then what's really happening in the Vandergrift feeder pattern. And then I'm anticipating we'll get more updates kind of for there. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, and I think it is a lot, to be real honest, but I think getting it right for the community is what's most important to us. And so we need to take this back and kind of prioritize some things and adjust the slide that had the timeline. We need to reconsider all of those as we look at this, and then we'll begin that next phase of communication.
That's great, thank you. And the mitigation strategies for I don't want to say south, make sure I use the same consistent wording for VHS, feeder pattern, and for any of those campuses that are finding themselves in threshold 1 and threshold 2. That's also something that we've tasked y'all to do, is staff, when we add this, does that add any more to your plate, or, well, we'll add more to your plate, but is this something doable?
Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong here, that I think definitely not so much the consolidation part, but the looking at these grade configurations, they fit into that innovative programming plan that we have. Would you agree with you? Totally disagree?
Yeah, that's part of, because we already have that timeline for the resolution, and that's going to happen spring and be kind of hopefully wrapped up for the most part before the end of the school year, so we can report back to you. That's a touch point for you. And then my hope is that we have some strategies that come out of that, and then as you look at these scenarios, maybe you could plug some of those in, right, and into the grand scheme of their overall picture. And so that's why some of that still has to happen, right? But those are some of the touch points, and we'll outline some other touch points along the way tied to this if you approve it.
Yeah, this brings a little specificity to it on some specific things that we didn't have before, so it does fit there, I think.
I move that the board, in alignment with the long-range planning resolution adopted on September 30th, 2025, direct administration to develop a comprehensive district-wide secondary alignment plan that includes consideration of expanded grade span models that integrate elementary and middle grades, consolidation scenarios, if appropriate, as determined by enrollment thresholds for the 27-28 school year in the Vandergrift High School feeder pattern that include clear plans for facility use.
Second.
A motion from Gloria, a second from Trish. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? 7 ayes, motion passes. All right, board members, I want to bring us back and get us aligned real quick. Again, we have another motion in order of business on the table in regards to Fabian Elementary. I'm going to open up the floor to the board, and we're going to go this way now. We're going to start with Paul.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, going back to wishing we had some of these discussions and it changed in September with a little bit better planning. And back to what Gibson said about having such great people. Going to the 50th birthday party for Fabian was fantastic, and I felt really honored to be there and be a part of that celebration. And the mayor of Cedar Park even said he'd do anything to keep them open. And I was like, wow, that's quite a statement from a political figure. So back to this, where we're at, and I understand where we're looking at their enrollment, but I still would like these levers that we've been talking about for some time, all of this fall, to still be run through before we make any rash decision, because I think Fabian deserves that opportunity. And I think, well, if I was in that school, I'd want someone to give me a second chance, or at least a second look, before we just made decisions.
Trish? I'm gonna still noodle and pass on to Chavez.
All right, so we've heard from the community members from the Fabian community that are both, some that are opposed to and some that are actually in support of consolidation. Thinking about the decision that we have to make, looking at it from, we've talked about the angle of really focusing on student learning and student experience. The option that was presented for consolidation was to consolidate them with Westside. And I'm going to ask another question to clarify that in a little bit more, but because we've injected another school in the equation as well, but we seem to be just talking about this one school. The other aspect of the aspect of student learning, there's an aspect of student learning that ties to the need, and that aspect of student learning that ties to the district need is for New Hope High School, where talking to high school students, principals, truancy coordinators, counselors, they're really, really asking for New Hope High School to be expanded way beyond what it's serving right now. They have to, right now, they're dealing with students who are chronically absent, and when those students eventually show up at school, it ties up some of the teachers' resources trying to help them. It's really a vicious cycle that affects all the students at the high school, and eventually some of those students drop out. So that experience, they're looking for a better experience, a learning environment for more expanded New Hope High School. And so the options that the students at Fabian have, there are, and when we've talked about open enrollment like being a mitigation strategy, the reason why it's different in that area is that there are 5 elementary schools that are within 1 to 2 miles of Fabian. So those are all options. 2 are 1 mile away and 3 are 2 miles away. I'd even look at the other one that is across 183 because of traffic. So I think that's really what I have to say regarding Fabian in support of consolidation and replacing it with New Hope, and looking for even considering the opportunity that we had discussed in the past, which includes early college high school and possibly Leo as well. So there's a huge district need, and that's just my say.
Nkosi?
As I mentioned before, so the 2 things that are really important to me in this process, we're protecting that student experience and learning, and protecting the long-term solvency of the district. I think Administration, you all have been really clear that we're facing budgetary pressures, and if we leave them unaddressed, that we can jeopardize the educational quality and potentially the district as a whole. And so we know that there's kind of no silver bullet, and that we'll have to really pull multiple levers in order to save our district. And so I think that if we do decide to consolidate, I definitely want to acknowledge kind of the loss and the disruption that comes from the transition. I think that there's an opportunity for Fabian students to flourish, in some of the fantastic programs of Westside, Leader and Me, the Rocket Runs, the multicultural nights. I think repurposing the campus and expanding New Hope creates new instructional opportunities and kind of strengthens this HIPAC program and aligns with protecting that student experience. I think that what I am looking to see, should we move forward in this, is, and I know we have the implementation plan, I want us to be really thoughtful about integrating two communities and ensure that we, ensure that and I know, and what I loved is that the West Side community and both Fabian communities expressed a willingness to embrace each other. And so I just want to make sure that should we move forward with this, that, we're really intentional about creating space for and a welcoming space for the Fabian community. And so I'll pause there. I just want to hear a little more from other board members, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts at this current moment.
This is a really, really, really hard decision. I'm not going to get emotional, but I have visited Fabian a lot. I've visited many of these schools, and Fabian was probably the first campus I went to. And, but I mean, I look at this presentation we had from November 20th, where it shows the transfers in and transfers out. And I think about the constant rumors of, is it Fabian this year? Is it Fabian that year? And I just can't imagine what that's like at an administrator to know that stress of, are we gonna hit that number, or what are we doing? What's gonna happen? Because the work that's happening at Fabian is some great stuff. I wanna make that clear. Y'all have a great leader and some great teachers. And so I hate that we're in this situation. Every other school district is in this situation, and it doesn't matter if you're a rated A or a rated C or B. At the end of the day, those are our students and those are our staff. But I gotta think about the bigger picture of this district. And I keep going back to putting teaching and learning as our North Star, as you said. And I try to think about my own kids and the experiences they had. And I want each and every one of our LIC students to get every opportunity they need. And I know consolidations hurt, but I really think that in this situation, because we have a plan for this school that will also impact other Leander ISD students, I think this is the direction, as hard as I don't want to do this, but I think this is the direction we have to go to start this stability of enrollment and facility usage across our district. And so for me, if we didn't have a need for it, I'd say let's go back to the drawing board. But I don't know if people know, but I went to a school like New Hope. It saved my life. We could really improve that program, but not only, it can draw a lot more students. And this board and our community has talked a lot about different ways to generate revenue. How do we bring our kids back? This is a program that fits those students who are leaving for virtual schools, who are leaving for these co-ops, because it's not your traditional school that we have that we do really well at, but some students just cannot thrive in that environment. And so I think my big thing for this is, you're gonna hate me, but I think it's important to keep the feeder pattern clean when we consolidate Fabian. We have to. I believe we owe it to them. And I think also ensuring, we heard this at a Tassa TASB presentation, that white glove service for our staff members, ensuring that administration is there, and I know y'all have a plan, but really guiding them through this, because this is the first consolidation, if this board approves this district has ever done. And we have one time to get it right. And I think my big priority right now is to ensure our staff is gonna get everything they need, and our students and parents are gonna be supported in the next steps. And so that's what I'm gonna be really leaning heavily in on. But most importantly, I need to see a solid structure plan for New Hope High School. I think we have the potential to grow it and to make it the best alternative program we have in this district and really, really help other students in our district get the knowledge and experience they need. Gloria?
I hate that we're in this situation. I think we all hate we're in this situation, and I feel that a lot of different, all the decisions, a lot of the decisions we've been making, people are like, they can't just be financial decisions. They're not just financial decisions, but financial decisions are a factor that we're facing. The state is not funding schools. I think our CFO has talked about a death from a million cuts over and over. And I really hope that our community is looking at some of these things and thinking about how they're advocating and showing up for public schools, because while you come here and you can be upset at school boards and school boards for making decisions, I hope you're also talking to the people in the pink building downtown about the decisions they make and how they impact how your schools are run. Because we pay a lot of property tax. Our property tax doesn't all stay in this district. We pay recapture. We have new unfunded mandates that come at us every single year. And this is what we're looking at. And so I hope that people are, I'm happy that y'all were here to advocate for your school. I'm glad that parents were bringing their kids, because I think that's the best modeling, like showing your kids to advocate for what's important for you, what's important for your community, what's important for your family. I hope you take them to the Capitol and show them how to advocate for what's important for your family and your community as well. Because this is only every legislative session, we get a new 100 cuts. So that's just where we're at, and it's frustrating that we're here and we're here, but I agree with my fellow board members about the consolidation support team. I want to make sure that we're taking care of our educators, because they are precious and that they're getting white glove. I want to make sure we're taking care of all those kiddos, and that this process, it's going to be the first one, and just making sure that we're loving on them and we're taking care of them and supporting them through this. While I do want to keep the feeder clean, I want to also make sure that those families know that they have all these options around them, and with open district transfers, maybe they want to go to a different school. Maybe, they want to try one of the other ones that they have that they can apply, and they understand what the timeline and the window is for that. If they choose not to go, into that, to West Side. I just want to make sure that we're supporting our community through this as much as we can.
Laura?
There's a lot been said that I can just echo, in recognizing, again, centering teaching and learning and thinking about the impact on the district level is something that, as board members, we have to consider. But then also zooming in and thinking about, Gloria talked about the staff, and I'm thinking about the students, and we didn't get to go into a lot of detail about this, but I know that there's a plan because I've asked about it, but I think about our special education students in particular. Fabian has, I believe, around 20% of their students are in special education, and more than that. Transitions, I just can't stress enough that I want to make sure, and I know I don't know if they're here, but I know our special education staff is going to be laser focused on supporting those students and those families, because I know that is going to be, something that they're going to have to adjust to. And I want to make sure, when I spoke with some families about the possibility of consolidation, I asked, if it comes to this, what is most important to you in terms of that support? And the counseling services was the first thing that was said. And so I just want to make sure that that's available and that we're really ready to go with that. And I know folks have talked about being ready to go, so I know they are, but I just want the community, I just want to reiterate that. And that we're continuing to, and I know we monitor and we progress monitor each and every child, but really for our school staff, where they end up, if they choose, if there's options to find the right fit for them, that we're really paying attention to how they're adjusting and how they're performing, so that we're making sure to put in any supports in place early for students who may struggle a bit in the beginning. So I just wanted to relay that those were requests from the community, and I know that we're ready to do that, but I just wanted to highlight that. An incredibly, incredibly difficult decision to make, and one that's not done without much thought and consideration.
So I wanted to clarify, when I alluded to a second school, it was about what Anna said about cleaning, keeping the feeder pattern clean. And so that is to expand on that, it would be the neighborhood codes that go to Henry would go to Reed versus West Side. And so that's just what I wanted to add. And also we've talked about it before, the bilingual program as well to Reed and others to Deer Creek. So that was just my thought. And then Cindy, can you please bring the motion?
The motion should be in your board book.
No, I haven't. I have a question. Oh, hold on. Can you pass it on? I haven't seen this. Yeah. I consulted with a friend. I think it will be helpful to just have it memorialized, and so the reason for that should be memorialized, and that way people can always check on it periodically to see if it's still valid. So my question, the first one is, do we still have to be specific about that one school in the motion, or can I name 2 schools? Because the motion they sent.
I kind of feel like that's administration is like choosing the feeder pattern, right? I don't know. I'm sure. Jeremy, can you talk about that?
Yeah, and again, the original scenario was Fabian to West Side, and if there wants to be consideration around other scenarios for zoning purposes, that can be materialized through the zoning process, and can come before you as a board when you approve the attendance zones. We can bring a couple of scenarios there for you, and then that will lead to the next steps, because there's a lot of steps with staffing that can't happen until we get that zoning finalized anyway.
Is that going to extend the process, though, for our students?
So with the zoning, we do have to finalize that, and so if we want to fold in another scenario, it'll be within that same process. It's not going to extend the zoning process, just because we're talking about 2 to 3, I think, neighborhood codes involved there. So we can bring those scenarios before you.
So my question is whether that particular scenario needs to be included in the motion, or the motion just looks like, or just specifies Fabian to West Side. That's all.
I'm gonna push back, because I think we've got to go through this rezoning process. So
I just asked a question.
I know, I'm just giving my input.
If I only need to say West Side, then that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that it still doesn't lose, we don't lose track of, yes, all right, that's all I wanted to know, that it doesn't make the whole process different or invalid or whatever it is. So that's fine.
Sade, can you explain the motion in front of us? Because our community can't see it, so
Okay.
if you want to read it or explain kind of what your thoughts were.
So the motion is I move that the Board of Trustees approve the consolidation of Fabian with Westside effective the 2026-27 school year, and further direct administration to develop and present to the board a comprehensive plan for the current Fabian site that evaluates and addresses district needs for an expanded New Hope High School, Leo, and Early College High School, including but not limited to enrollment capacity, program alignment, facilities utilization, staffing, transportation, budget implications, and an implementation timeline. And this reporting requirement, we already have it in the, what is this? In our resolution, it says administration shall provide the board with periodic updates and present the final recommended plan for board consideration effective the 2026-27 school year and up to the 2027-28 school year. The reason why I had a second one is because of that, the implementation of the district needs, it might be staged where some might start this upcoming school year, or it all has to be postponed till the following school year. It's just giving those options, making those options available.
Does this, for clarity purposes, when we mention in the motion New Hope High School, Leo, and Early College High School, is the intention to look at the feasibility of housing all three programs on one property?
So yes, so New Hope is the primary need, and then including the other two would be, if possible.
I like the thinking behind this. I do. I think that all three of these programs do need to be considered as holistically, I think, because there's a lot of overlap. What makes me nervous about turning this into board action is how does it lock us into something that we may not be able to do by co-locating them at all three, and then implementation.
I didn't say it has to be implemented. It's just researching it to see if it's possible.
Okay, no, then I understand that. I'm just trying to gain clarity around what is actually here.
It's really just the feasibility. The primary need is the expanded New Hope High School, and then if either of the other two can be added, then that's fine.
But we're not locking ourselves in, because right away I'm like, if admin had said to grow New Hope to 400 kids, and we know Early College High School can grow to 500 kids, that's already 900 kids there. And I think also on top of that, we heard very, very strongly from the Fabian community, they did not want Leo there. And I think we got to be very, very intentional remembering what the community said. But Sade, I'm with you, as long as this doesn't lock us in, because I don't want to get into that discussion tonight. If y'all can bring us back something where it looks like this, by all means bring it back, but I don't want to get locked in, because I am very much disagreeing in putting all three programs at that campus.
I'm worried that this language out there like that tells the community that those are the three things we want in there. And so I would love for you to bring us back some feasibility. I'm not comfortable making a motion like this, because I feel like it gives the perception to the community that we want these three things in there, and I'm not sure that I don't want those three things in there, and so I'm not comfortable supporting that motion. I am comfortable supporting, can you bring us back some information? I just feel like when this is a motion, this is what's published, this is what's printed, this is the motion that was passed around the Fabian consolidation of Westside. This tells their community, if they haven't heard this board meeting, right? If they didn't hear this discussion and they're just reading this motion, I feel like I would read this and say, oh, wow, they're going to evaluate a comprehensive plan that puts New Hope, Leo, and Early College in that building. And so I worry about that. I worry about creating additional anxiety in a community that already is processing, if we decide to vote this way, processing a lot of feelings.
I also just wonder if it would impact people's not willingness, but if they would be, enrollment. Like I think about, would it impact enrollment at all if there's this discussion around all being on the same campus versus being considered separately? I don't know, just the other piece that.
So does it make the motion, does it improve the motion if I change and addresses district needs? It says, well, comprehensive plan for the current Fabian site that evaluates the feasibility of district needs for an expanded New Hope High School, Leo, and or Early College High School.
So I know one aspect to consider is that in engaging New Hope High School and expanding that program, that's the engagement that we would provide in the springtime to lead up to a hopeful design once we have the program established. We have a lot of groundwork already done on Early College High School, and we've kind of started some of those conversations. Leo, we haven't really engaged much, so that may extend some of our exploration timeline before we can begin any type of design. So we just spend a whole lot of time in programming, all three would be difficult. This is just high level to fit all three on there just based on that property and that site. But we can definitely explore these and the programmatic details around these and bring those back to you. We have the Early College High School, right? But if you want to look at the feasibility on that property, that would take a little bit more time. Not that we can't do it, but it would take a little bit more time to get that established and to bring back to you.
So am I hearing from others that you only want the only need that you want to be addressed on that site is the expanded New Hope High School program?
I don't know that, well, I don't speak for the board members. What I've heard and what I would express is that New Hope is a priority, I think. That's the first priority. But then what are the right combinations and what enables us to share staff? For example, right now I know we would love to hire a Spanish teacher that we could share, between some programs, because neither program needs a full one. But we have to make sure that, this is my opinion, that we honor what the community is saying as if we're going to consolidate their school, but also are we setting up students to be successful by co-locating? Like, what are the right two programs to co-locate? I don't know that I'm opposed to it. I just think we need to explore it, which is what I think you're asking for. I just want to, and I want to do that. I don't know that anybody's opposed to that. What I was looking for is, I thought this was in the resolution, but I cannot find it right off the top of my head. But
it is in the resolution. We didn't put any example that would name the schools, but it's right here where it says, be it resolved in facilities and asset management, the last one, be it resolved, administration shall initially consider meeting district facility needs using existing facilities and resources through co-location and or repurposing. So that's where those examples would have come in, but there was no examples discussed.
yeah, I want to be clear to you and clear to you in front of the other board members in the community that I think this is a very legitimate request for us to do it. So it's not, I don't have a problem with us pursuing that. I just want to make sure that we get this written correctly so it doesn't unintentionally mislead the community or lock us into something that we are not able to do.
Can I ask a question, Sade? What was wrong with the original motion? I'll be honest, this is not just board members. When y'all want to do an extra motion like this, please include our acting superintendent so he's not surprised. And so I'm just wondering, what is wrong with the original motion that we have? Because I feel like for me it says direct administration to implement a transition plan, and it says the year. And when I go look at our resolution, it does state to evaluate district needs based on, and it lists these current opportunities that we offer.
So this one's specific.
I feel like we've talked to the community, and one of the things that we've talked about through this process is being transparent with the community, having a plan for what we're gonna do with the building and what we've talked about. We didn't talk about all of these things. And I know what you're saying is we just want to get more information, and I'm okay with that too, getting more information, but I feel like there's a priority right here around New Hope High School and really giving that program room to grow, room to flourish, the community get excited about that building, and what can happen in New Hope High School. And I know even if we change the language to say consider, I just think putting that in that language is going to create maybe some anxiety that I don't think we need to put additional anxiety on that community. I think it's already too much. And so that's why. But I'm not saying we still can't have those conversations future and long term. I'm just saying I don't want that type of motion language, because I feel like it sends, even though we say all the things, we know how it goes, we say all the things and someone's like, no, I took the screenshot at the board meeting, and it's like, no, but did you hear the conversation around it? No, I didn't have to. Here's the screenshot from the board meeting that somebody sent me. Here's the motion that somebody shared with me. And they're not going to hear this robust conversation. So that's my concern.
Yeah, but Dr. Clark just said that he would like to review this, that he wants to do it. So if we're talking about being transparent, shouldn't we put, I guess I'm a little confused.
I think you could still do it without naming those names. I really think you can. We all know that there's a need for this for each 3 of these buildings. We know that. New Hope is crammed into 2 little bitty portables. Leo's living in like the oldest building in Leander ISD, and Early College High School is in Portable City. I think it's a pretty known fact that y'all are going to use the process that I believe you're bringing to us in March on that, correct? I forget the timeline. The facility study thing that you're doing. I can't remember, what is it called?
Oh, the educational adequacy.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah,
so Leo will be tied into that study as well, that facility tied to that program.
I think I would prefer, I understand what you're saying, Sade, because I was really big on the New Hope and ECC, but then if I start thinking about us combining, that's 900 students in a small space, and we're sitting here talking about teacher experience, and that's a lot. And I'll be honest, if that's the motion, I just can't. I'd rather those schools to be taken out, let administration go do your work, come bring us back that information. You're asking what that looks like, but I don't want those names in the motion.
Jeremy, can I ask a question? A couple questions, actually. How fast does it take to buy a portable?
To buy a portable, you just 2 classroom portable building. We could probably do it in 4 months. We could probably have a portable building down on the ground. We do have portables currently in the district that are not being utilized that we could relocate.
How long would it take to renovate for New Hope High School?
Well, Fabian Elementary, I don't know. I'm allocating about 10, 12 months.
Well, my other question is, have we ever actually looked at just simply building a school for New Hope High School? We have property and we have bond money to do such a thing without taking away an elementary school that is meant for little kids, not for high schoolers. So have we actually ventured into that? And again, I wish we'd have these conversations back in September, not December. But here we are, and have we actually had any discussion about that, just simply building them a school?
Yeah, so currently within the bond, within 2023 bond, we have repurposing dollars left over for conversations just like this. We do not have any money allocated to new construction for a New Hope facility.
Okay, well, last week we talked about and approved $38 million to pay off our old debt.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some community members, and I asked them, do you remember voting for the ability for those bonds to be used to pay off old debt for the 2012, 2014, and 2015 unsecured capital appreciation bonds? And they don't remember that. It's all part of the bond package to help build and maintain facilities And so while that is great, and I voted for that because I didn't know how we're going to pay off that debt, and I do appreciate that. We went from, 89% down to 12%. But the community didn't vote for that. And I'm sure there's some Fabian folks and some others that said, wait a minute, we voted to build and maintain facilities, not to pay off all debt. And so that's where I'm like, are we jumping to conclusions to simply, because we've had only money left over for said renovations and not building something new? Because $338 million could build a pretty nice New Hope High School.
Pete's gonna clarify that, Dr. Poppy, please. There's no $338 million.
I'll just make sure, just to clarify, I'm going to repeat what the question, so I know what we're talking. So we paid off our debt early, correct? The INS rate that we have paid off early since 2015 up until this last year. We passed a bond in 2023. So is the question, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Basically, the question is, when we voted for that 2023 bond, none of that language was in there to pay off old debt. And that's what some of my constituents have asked for. Because that money would be really nice to use right now on something else, a New Hope High School, if that's what we needed, which is also why I made the concession of, well, let's build them a portable. If they need it now, let's do it now. We could have it by this summer. And we know kids take summer classes, so we could have it by April. I mean, the early children center over by the district office, those are now closing down, correct? Because the new one's being built? Or is those gonna stay open?
I'm not sure what you're asking about.
There's buildings behind Leo for young kids.
Oh,
Right.
that's parents as teachers. It's a different program. They will still be housed in those.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to clarify that,
Yeah.
right? But we have a group of land right over there that we could move New Hope High School across the street to expand their footprint. Currently, I don't think that land is being used or utilized.
The land
Across the street from New Hope High School. The field that's right there?
Oh, by Ellen.
That's right
yes.
next to Leo?
Okay, yes. Yeah, I mean, that is
I mean,
district
if you want to
land.
put 4 or 5 buildings there, and expand it if they're only in a couple. And I have been to New Hope, and I do like what they're trying to do, but if we're really trying to do something more expediency and efficient, that seems like that might be a little bit better option.
I just wanted to clarify the question for Dr. Poppy, because it seems like you said there was, $338 million
I thought that was presented last week.
that was of bond money
Right.
that is being used to pay down debt?
No,
That's not.
It wasn't
that is-
bond money, it was debt service money. It was the INS rate, the current 33 cents. So we had, so 2015 up until 2024, we would over levy the INS rate, and we would come to the board and we would say at the end of the year, we have over levy, we have X number of $1 million above and beyond our annual payment, and we're gonna pay this debt off early. We did that for 8, 9, 10, 11 years. 2023, we passed a bond. 2024, this last year, we paid off a hefty amount of that bond. Part of it was refunding some of that bond, some of the bonds that we had from the previous cab debt. So we saved, that was a big deal we had like last April of May 2024, give or take. But when we pay that off, we did pay a portion, a big chunk of that, if you will, cash. But that cash was from the debt service fund. It was not from the M&O fund. It wasn't from bond funds. It was from the INS tax rate, the general fund balance we had in the INS tax rate.
Okay, thank you. So how much bond money do we have left currently from the 2023 bond?
That's not on the agenda, Paul, but where I can direct you is in last week's meeting, there's a whole column on there that they put together for board members to look at. Let's try to keep the comments to the agenda, please.
I would like to point that our resolution at some point, we're gonna talk about bond funds. I know you're gonna bring it to us. And I think the question, let me see if I can write center us, and maybe we'll have to pull even back further.
the bond funding was for a New Hope High School and a Leo. That's what your CFAC put together. Board's like, well, I'm not sure, you know, some board members are like, let's look at this. And I think what I'm hearing is that we're not prohibiting you from bringing things. We just want to be considerate and intentional of what you bring back to us and what can actually fit on that campus size. What I liked about Sade's amendment, and y'all have heard me say it, so not a big surprise there. What I liked about Sade's amendment is it does look at bringing a larger number of enrollment onto one place and consolidating the use of administration. You could do that where you're not having to have all these different administration. A school nurse, for example, could be at those areas. So I liked Sade's motion. I liked her discussion for that. And it clarifies for me the facility use. And that's something we just had with our other motion is, do we really know what we're going to use this for purpose? If we're just saying that it's, and I think, I agree, I understand why New Hope's a priority, I understand why we want to get enrollment. I guess where I'm struggling is, though, why wouldn't we, or what does the board see as far as, could we not give them clarity and say, we're going to let you try mitigation strategies and see if they could do something to pull up their enrollment? And are we clear that this facility use is going to be something that actually pulls in something that enough of enrollment to really make what we're proposing, which is consolidating or closing Fabian, really helpful to the community? It's a whole community event, right? And so I'm struggling because it seems like really close to something and then we veer off a bit. And I just want to make sure I'm consistent in how I'm addressing or thinking about the motions. And it's for my head. I'm not saying everybody else's head's going to work the same way, but I just want to make sure I understand the consistency here. So maybe y'all can address consistency, maybe not. Let me just do this. Ask a question. Staffing time. We've already asked y'all to go to the staff, 7, 8, 9, 10 campuses to talk about threshold. Now we're telling you to work on open enrollment, set up that system, market that system, getting people from open enrollment. We just did another motion that has some other things that are moving into place. Is it necessary to do this consolidation this year for Fabian? What can staff do this? Does staff feel confident in their ability, should the board take that vote, to be able to keep all these things running and all these running on the track and doing them all very well? Because I just heard about the white glove service we want, and to be with the kids and counseling and emotional support, and I love all this. I feel like we're also really asking staff to pick up a lot of pieces here, and I just want to make sure, from my understanding, does staff feel like this is a legitimate lift?
In terms of the consolidation, I do feel like that is a doable lift. Just to be clear to the community in the room, none of us want to do this, but if you're asking, is it doable? Yes, there has been planning in anticipation of this possibility of how we can kind of like adjust some things specifically in our process for reassigning staff that would respond to consolidation of schools, because that is new in our district. We already had a process for reassignment of staff when there's a shift in need. So there's a plan for that. We have a plan to develop a district task force that will support those transition, as well as a campus one. And so we'll be leaning into, at the district level, different levels of expertise, but at the campus level, teachers, principals, counselors, what are all the processes from both schools if this decision is made? What are all the processes that happen through the spring that we need to consider? What does it look like from a PTA perspective? One of the things that I thought about in the middle of the night one night was, a big part of an elementary school is making class lists for the following year. How do we consolidate those processes and think that through so that those are considered from both campuses? So it's identifying that comprehensive list of what we do. It is work. But it is if you're asking me if it's, can we do it, yes, I think we can do it, yeah. You mentioned something about New Hope, maybe I misunderstood, and does that bring us
Enough of an enrollment to, I'm just looking at the balance, right?
Yes, I think that's a good question. Do you mind if I give some thoughts on that? I think you've had this question too. So I think it's hard to calculate that because students come to New Hope from other high schools. However, what we know is that when students who need, even when they don't know they need a New Hope, a lot of our students don't know that New Hope exists. So that's part of the plan, is to market it and expand it. But when they don't get that need met, they often have poor attendance, or even worse, they drop out. And so that is our core business, is student learning. And when they don't come to school or they drop out, we can't meet their needs. But from a revenue generation, the more kids are present and the more of them that stay in school, it does help generate revenue. It would be hard to put a number on that. There is some potential for out-of-district transfers in. We would have to really think through that process, because we have data on the number of kids in our system that kind of meet the typical criteria of what a New Hope kid from an academic perspective might be. And so there's definitely plenty of kids in district. Now, it's their choice. We don't make them go there. It's not a disciplinary placement. But it's, if all those kids took us up, we would have way more. We have a lot of kids that have that need internally. Do they want that is another question, but I think there would be quite a few that do. It's helping them understand the desire to be there.
Sorry, Dr. Clark, has there ever been a case where a child went into a New Hope and then went back to the high school because they didn't enjoy the experience?
I would imagine so, that does happen. There's actually a lot of interconnectedness between these three programs. That's why I do have a desire to explore what Sade's asking for, is because we see students who start sometimes at Leo for a disciplinary reason. They use similar platforms for learning depending on the courses. And then we see some kids, even though they ended up at Leo for a disciplinary reason, they like that smaller school setting. And so the staff at Leo does a really good job of saying, you might be a benefit from New Hope. And so they help do, some connecting there. Same for early college. I talked to a young lady there, brilliant young lady, that early college just didn't work for her initially, and she went to New Hope, and then she was kind of considering, maybe I might go back to early college. So there is a lot of interaction, and those three principals are a dynamic trio. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens with them and the principal at the Geiger Compass Center.
So what I'm hearing is what we need is some availability for space, and to let those kids, if they want to, great. If they don't, there is a fallback. They're not just, they can't go back to where they came from.
Oh, no, we would, no. Now for Leo, when they're there, they have to complete their time that's from a disciplinary standpoint, right. But we would never force a kid to stay at New Hope if it's not what was working for them.
So that kind of goes back to I would like to expand the idea of simply getting a portable or something, so we could expand New Hope as soon as possible instead of going down this other route. And I get it, there might be a time where we really go this other route, but I would really like to give Fabian a second chance, or at least a chance where they see what's going on. We have these parameters that might help them out. I mean, they've been around for 50 years. It'd be interesting to see if they could make another 50. But if we give them not a second chance tonight, then that's it, probably. So I like the idea of just, if we're really trying to help New Hope, let's help them not in 12 months, in 4. How many portables can we buy and put in 4? Can we put in 2?
I don't know how many would fit on that particular property, and you
I'm
know,
just throwing stuff out there. Like I said, I wish we were having this discussion in September.
I understand, yes.
I wish we were going ahead, because if that was the idea for Fabian, and it's great that we have an idea for them, but we still don't know the numbers on, you know, how much money it's going to cost to staff it, right? We still have to do some things, and we're in a budget crunch, and that's a whole nother discussion, but guys, I like the idea of helping kids sooner the better so we don't lose them.
I understand your point. I would love to kind of dialogue with you more about this. I think you bring up some really good points. I understand your perspective.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the consolidation of Fabian Elementary with Westside Elementary and direct administration to implement a transition plan for the 2026-27 school year.
I second.
I have a motion from Laura, a second from Gloria. Any discussion, board members? No discussion? All right, all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? 5-2, motion passes. Okay. All right, board members, we've reached the end of our meeting. I do have a couple words to say. On behalf of the board, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation to our administration for your efforts through this process, especially our administration assistants. I see you, Darla. We recognize that board member requests have required long hours, numerous meetings, and a significant investment of time, and we are deeply grateful for your commitment, not only during this process, but each day as you support our students and staff. While there is still much work ahead, we are so thankful for your continued dedication and partnership as we move forward. I do want to make note for the media in the room, if you have extra questions or want to just get clarification, to please get with Christina Hardy, our SER, and I do want to remind the board members that the board president is the official spokesman, so media, if you need a comment or anything, I'd be your person to go to. With that said, it is 9:47 p.m., and with having no further business, this meeting of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees is adjourned.